Quite impressive.
That ball is gone.
This is Turner Sports.
The last event in the summer series.
And the biggest thing, we are halfway through 2012, 18 down, 18 to go, and tick, 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 8 races to the chase.
These 6 races, Larry and I were talking about this morning, it's hard to believe that these 6 races have gone this fast, from Pocono to Michigan to California. I mean, it's just been to Daytona. It's just been amazing.
Yeah, just think, 6 weeks ago, I was being lizard-licked in Pocono.
Oh, yes, you were. Yes, you were.
A moment we'll never forget. You know, when you look at NASCAR on TNT in 2012, there's one word to describe it. That would be parity. 5 races, 5 different winners. Back to victory lane today. It happens in Pocono.
You are the real deal, brother. Woo, thank you. That is awesome.
There is going to be a party in Junior Nation tonight. Clint Boyer going to get them their first trophy in 2012.
Great job.
His
There you
third
go.
win of the year coming at Kentucky.
Great job, Paul. Great job, everybody.
That's going to allow Smoke to pull away. What's going to happen behind him? Can Burton get there? No, he can't. Tony Stewart wins it at Daytona. I said it when we began our coverage back at Pocono 5 weeks ago. The thing I love about our coverage on TNT, 6 weeks, 6 totally different racetracks, a common trend, and we see it again here today.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, you know, we go back to those races, the speedways, the road courses. Here we end at New Hampshire, but you throw in those races in between, Michigan, places like that. So it's easy to have 5 different winners because it's hard for a guy in this day and time, as competitive as this is, to put 2 or 3 races back to back, especially on the diverse tracks that we run.
And I think the big reason the drivers and the teams will put so much focus on this race today is they're going to have to deal with this track again. It's race number 2 of the chase. In this race, this track is not predictable. If you look at the last 12 races here, we have had 11 different winners. In the last 8 races, we've had 8 different winners. So nobody really seems to have their arms around this little over 1 mile racetrack.
You're talking about the chase, 8 races until the chase begins. So let's look at the Sprint Cup Series driver standings and see how it all shakes out. And Larry, once again, you've had your colored markers out playing with the graphics department.
Well, if you look here, this is the top 10, and the reason we have these drivers highlighted in green, and pretty much from Matt Kenseth down through Jimmy Johnson, they are more than one race in front of 11th place Carl Edwards. The reason we highlighted Tony Stewart, Brad Keselowski, guarantee you with 8 races to go, 3 wins will put you in the chase one way or the other.
All these drivers feeling okay right now. Some of the others on the outside looking in, you look at 11th on back, the wild card picture still pretty cloudy, Kyle.
Yeah, it's very cloudy. Not pretty cloudy, it's very cloudy. You look at Casey Kane, you look at Ryan Newman, you look at Joey Logano, and you look at those guys with 1 win. Another win would be fantastic for those guys.
No
and
question.
A lot of those guys, when we get back to Jeff and those guys, they're not going to make it there in points, and they know it. They're the ones that are saying they're not going to make it there in points. So it's all about wins for that next group.
Yeah, there's only one driver that's outside the top 10 that has win one race of the top 10, which is 48 points. That's the most points you can make up or lose in one race. That's Carl Edwards, and he's 31 points back. But going back to the top 10, I still look closely at the only 2 drivers that are there that's not been to victory lane, and that's Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr. They, even though they're in the top 10, they know how much and how important a win would be.
And you look at those 4 drivers outside the top 10 that have a victory. Kyle Busch on the pole today. You got Joey Logano, who has won here. Ryan Newman, who has 3 victories here. And Casey Kane, who starts on the front row. They're all feeling good right now. We'll wait and see how they're feeling after the race unfolds here this afternoon at New Hampshire. The big off-track story of the week continues to be that of A.J. Allmendinger. The driver of the 22 car for Team Penske was temporarily suspended prior to last week's race at Daytona for a positive A drug test. A.J. released a statement this week saying he had tested positive for a stimulant. He has requested the B test. That is expected to happen this week. To be clear, the A and B test come from the same sample. We met with NASCAR this morning to clarify their procedure. The testing is all done by an independent lab. They then notify NASCAR officials of the results. If the B test comes back positive, A.J. would then be indefinitely suspended pending clinical evaluation. Kyle, I think we all know, for a driver, when you're dealing with a situation off track, the best way to put it out of your mind, get behind the wheel of the race car. That's not an option right now for AJ.
That's the hard part. I think that's the hard part for any athlete, but especially a race car driver. You find peace in that race car. I don't know how to explain that to people, that in all the chaos and all the excitement and everything that goes on, that's where you dream about being. That's where you want to be. So for AJ to be outside, and to be outside for the reasons that he is outside, it's got to be just tearing him apart. Because I think he could deal with it better if he was just going through his day-to-day cycle, doing what he's used to doing, getting in that car, talking to his team. But now he's one step removed from that, and it's got to be incredibly hard on him.
Larry, let's go big picture for a moment and talk about this 22 team. They have faced a ton of adversity dating back to December. That's when the announcement came that Kurt Busch would not be back to drive the car in 2012. Then the announcement followed that A.J. Allmendinger would be his replacement. The team had found some momentum in early June. Then last weekend, A.J. finds out he's been suspended. And, of course, Sam Hornish Jr. took over driving duties at Daytona last week. He'll be behind the wheel once again today. It's been a little bit of an uphill climb.
Well, and I do look at that 22 team that's led by Todd Gordon. And go back to last year with Kurt Busch, and remember Steve Addington was over there as the crew chief. They won a couple races with Kurt. They made the chase, but certainly there was a lot of controversy at the end of the year with Kurt. A lot of things that were being said on the radio. They were being blasted a lot. And then they hire A.J. Allmendinger. And you know what? Everyone's expectations were so high about A.J. Allmendinger. And if you look at the first dozen races, other than finishing second at Martinsville, it was pretty dismal. And then all of a sudden, they get a couple consecutive top 10 finishes, and then they go to Daytona, and they qualify in the top 10. You walk in there on race morning, and you find out your driver cannot even drive the race car, and then you have to change the seat and everything inside the cockpit to adapt to Sam Hornish Jr. That's the group I really feel bad for right now, is that race team, the 22 team.
We see it every year, the highs and lows and the humbling moments that NASCAR will produce. It happens all the time in the sport. Wally Dallenbach going to call the race with us later today here on TNT. He joins us on Countdown to Green. And certainly tough times, Wally, when you look at A.J. Allmendinger. But it's opened up a huge door of opportunity for Sam Hornish Jr., who's going to drive the 22 car again today.
Hey, listen, anytime you get a second chance in that garage area, it's big for a driver. He was in the Cup Series, and, things didn't work out. He went to Nationwide, and this is really a gift. So he's got a great opportunity to try to get himself back in the series full time. He doesn't know how many races he's going to be in the car, but he's going to try to make the best of it. And if he can put a couple of good finishes together, it may open up the door and the opportunity for him to be back on the big stage and full time in Cup again.
And the plan right now, go week to week with that 22 car. Wally, thanks for being with us. We'll see you when we make our picks later on Countdown to Green. And straight ahead after the break, we are going to visit with Greg Biffle. In fact, there he is right there, waiting to walk up on the rig. Driver 16. Stay right where you are. We'll be with you in just a moment. And we should mention, Greg's coming up. He's had success here at New Hampshire. We'll see what he thinks about trying to get back on track in 2012. And we go behind the scenes with Rick Hendrick, an amazing icon when it comes to NASCAR. Ralph Shaheen with a visit there. And we also talk to today's pole sitter, Kyle Busch, going to lead him to the green later on. You're watching NASCAR on TNT live from New Hampshire. The hats and T-shirts the crew is wearing today are from a new vintage line of gear called NASCAR Classics. Get these in many more styles only at the NASCAR.com Superstore. Time now for a little hashtag NASCAR. Everyone seems to agree it's just a fantastic resource for keeping up with all things NASCAR and especially keeping tabs on your favorite driver. Yes, you're going to get real NASCAR news, real NASCAR pictures, real NASCAR video. It's perfect for the hardcore race fan. Trust me, signing up is simple and easy to do. All you got to do is go to twitter.com/hashtag NASCAR. And at the top of the page, you see that yellow button? Well, Twitter's customized it so that when you sign up, you'll automatically follow NASCAR folks. And we have a tweet here from Jeff Gordon. This was when he was watching the Nationwide Series race yesterday. He said, pretty good sign of what we'll be seeing tomorrow. Very tough to pass. Kyle, Larry, we've heard it all weekend. Track position is going to be key.
Yeah, we heard it from the time practice started. They interviewed Carl Edwards in that very first practice, and he said, we're really going to focus on qualifying. We're going to spend this first practice doing nothing but qualifying because it is so hard to pass. Pit selection, we need it. And guess what? Carl didn't qualify good. He didn't get his pit selection. So in his mind, that's obviously going to put you behind the 8 ball a little bit even before the race starts.
Oh, there's a way to pass, but more than likely they're going to somebody be mad at somebody in that garage area after this race today.
Or on pit road, crew chief, you can play a little strategy
your job
as well. You know, when we come back here in September to New Hampshire Motor Speedway, we'll be involved in the chase. And one driver who's going to be a part of that championship equation, Greg Biffle. Started out 2012, 3 consecutive third-place finishes, and he wasn't done yet. Got his first win of the season at Texas back in April, and he enters race number 19 with a victory, 10 top 10 finishes, and third in the standings. And Greg Biffle is with us now on Countdown to Green. Greg, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
And I look at the early part of the season. We talked about that win at Texas, Mr. Consistency, but the last 2 weeks, 21st and 21st. So what do you guys need to do to get ready for the playoffs for when we come back up here?
Did you have to remind me of that?
Motivation, my man.
I was trying to forget about that. I said, we got 2 21st in a row. But,
that's consistent, too, I guess.
That is very consistent. But, you know, the thing about it is we've been very fast as a race team all season. Yes, we've had a couple, bumps in the road, which every team's going to have that. Unfortunately, the end of that Daytona race, we had a top 5 finish coming. If not a shot for the win, it was looking like the shot for the win was disappearing. But we're running good here, and that's a lot of confidence.
Greg, we always talk about a driver and a crew chief relationship, how important. If you can get that right, you can build everything around it. Going back to 2011, the first dozen races, it just wasn't working. And 1 year ago, when you came here, Matt Pusher came here as your crew chief, and it just seemed to put life in you and life in that race team.
It did. Matt's done such a great job, getting the team morale up and getting those guys focused and a lot of new guys on the team, and that's made a big difference too. So the team guys didn't change till the end of the season, but these guys are excited. These guys are hungry. And I love to see that in a race team. A lot of them got their very first win at Texas this year and led the points for 10 weeks. I mean, we've had a great season. We want to keep it up.
Yeah, and you talk about leading the points for 10 weeks. I want to talk about where there's 8 races left in the regular season, as they call it. And then we go into Chase. So many times when we get to the Chase, we see teams that are here and are really good, but they don't pick it up that extra little bit. What do you guys do over the next 8 weeks to prepare yourself once you get to the Chase to take it to another level?
Well, you know how much mental is in this game, Kyle. And I'll tell you, it's funny that we don't run historically as a team that great in the middle of summer. And I do not know why, but in the spring and the fall, we run great and strong. So that is a lot of confidence going into the Chase. We're building chase cars right now, getting ready for the Chase. The best stuff that we can build. And Matt and I have been talking a lot about it, a lot about racetracks. We got some tests coming up. So we're super excited about how strong we're going to be in the Chase. We're going to take it up a notch when the Chase comes.
Greg, in a multi-car operation, we know that the owner works hard, not that there's driver ranking. Yep. You've been with Roush Fenway since 1998. This is your 10th full-time season in Sprint Cup. We roll into Daytona next year in 2013. You will be the senior member, the leader of Roush Fenway, and possibly drivers like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. looking up to you because of your seniority there.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me feel good about that. Matt, obviously the elder statesman, he's leaving our organization. But, so I'll move into that role. I want to help Ricky, and I feel like I helped Carl a little bit. And so did all of us, and anybody that comes into our team, whether it's nationwide or the Sprint Cup Series, we're a team organization and we want to help each other the best we can.
Greg, it's a good time of year as we start to look forward to the fall and the Chase. Congratulations on the success so far.
Thank you.
And best of luck this afternoon here at New Hampshire.
Thank you.
Now, I'm sorry to say, all of us here at TNT playing a little bit short-handed today.
We are.
Marty Snyder not going to be with us. He's under the weather, resting back at home. Marty, we wish you the best. We want to see you again soon, and certainly we're thinking about you. And that means heavy lifting for our pit reporters. What stories are they going to be covering today? Let's find out and send it down to Matt Yoakum.
Well, Adam, today, because of Marty being absent due to illness, we're breaking pit road down into thirds today. And I'll be covering the first third here on pit road, right off turn 4. And when you look at the cars in my area, a number of drivers who sit solid in the points or trying to lock down one of those wild card spots, namely the 11 of Denny Hamlin, polling all the crew chiefs in my area in the garage this morning. They pointed to the 11 as the Rocket. Denny Hamlin, so impressive with raw speed and his 10-lap average in the final practice session. I'll talk to Denny coming up later in Countdown to Green just about the trends of this race and also the opportunity of maybe rolling the dice and scoring another win as we get ever closer to the Chase. Going to the middle third, here's my compadre, Ralph Shaheen.
All right, Matt, thanks. Hurry up and get better. Marty, we need you back down here. I'm going to have from Jeff Gordon that way down to Jamie McMurray over here. And one of the guys I'll be covering is Clint Boyer right here in the middle. Now, Clint Boyer has 2 wins here at New Hampshire. He's 10th in the points. Even has a win this season at Sonoma. But what he does not want to do this year here at New Hampshire is what he did last year. In both New Hampshire races here, he was the guy that got passed in the final pass for the lead in both races. He can't afford that. He'd like to get those extra bonus points heading into the Chase. He's going to start 5th here today. And also helping us out on pit road, Chris Neville.
And Ralph, I've got the final third here in pit lane from Sam Hornish Jr. all the way down to pit out. Sandwiched in the middle there are only 3-time winners this year, Brad Keselowski and Tony Stewart. Just behind me, Greg Biffle, we just talked to him. He's sliding a bit in the championship, 21st the last 2 weekends. And this pit box here, pit box number 1, our pole sitter, Kyle Busch. He's had one challenge after another this summer. His best finish, 10th at Kentucky. I talked to his crew chief, Dave Rogers. He said the difference this summer is he's taking all of these challenges in stride. I'll talk to him later in Countdown to Green. Adam?
Welcome back to Countdown to Green. You know, the NASCAR community all about giving back. Thursday at Loudon Country Club, it was the One for the Kids golf tournament, raising over $20,000 for Speedway Children's Charities. I had a great time. David Reagan, one of the celebrities on hand, and no word on how many golf balls Larry McReynolds lost. But it was all for a good cause. We're glad for that. And our guys here at TNT, they love helping others. Wally's Charity, working with children who have lost a parent or parents. For more information, you can go to WallyDollenbachJr.Foundation.com. And we all know about Victory Junction and the role Kyle plays in that. You can look them up. It's victoryjunction.org. So good to give back and be a part of the NASCAR community. Over the past 5 weeks, our NASCAR Generation Series has covered it all, from first race cars to grudges and apologies. Oh, yeah, and race day superstitions. Thanks to our champion drivers, Ned Jarrett, Bill Elliott, and Jimmy Johnson, for sharing their memories. Now here are a few of our leftover gems that didn't make it into any of the earlier features. We're calling this one Hand-Me-Down Cars and Big Engines.
Jimmy Johnson off turn 4, leading rookie on the tour, and he's going to win his 13th start.
Jeff had won the championship in 2001, and they handed me all these amazing race cars with this great pedigree and all of that. So I knew that I had to go. So to be able to win my home state, win that first race was big for me. And I felt like, you know, one, I'd fulfilled the dream, but two, that I was going to have a job for a little while, and that was nice and comfortable.
It's amazing what I remember about your first win is they're still trying to clean the oil up in Victory Lane where you blew the engine up.
I can still hear Randy Dorton's voice in my ears from time to time. Don't you blow that thing up? And as he was saying it, the rods are coming out of the side of the engine, and I'm like, too late.
There was an oil spill in Victory Lane bigger than this black rug here. When
they brought the truck with the kitty litter and the brooms and everything, and before we could take photos, they had to clean
up.
Kind of
like Junior's 85. Daryl's
well, he at least waited until he got to Victory Lane.
When I started driving, if the King ran a car 1 week, then I would get it 2 or 3 years later. Okay, that's the way it worked. But I always got whatever engine he run, I got it the next week. So if you go back and look at my stats from the first year, like out of 26 races, I blew up 18 times.
Charlotte Motor Speedway. The year was 1983. Win number 198 for the King. And the only time Richard Petty was ever caught cheating. Post-race inspection revealed an oversized motor. But the real truth is, that wasn't the first time that motor had ever hit the track.
So you would run an engine the King would run about 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So where'd we go 2 weeks after we raced Charlotte? Where'd you run that motor?
2 weeks. Hold on. I had that motor the week before. Listen to this. Wait a minute. Listen to this. I was telling Daryl this the other day. Hold on. Listen. I was telling Daryl last week. I said, Daryl, remember that time I run second to you up there at Dover? And he said, yeah. And I said, remember that old big grain scale that they used to have in the middle of the Dover garage area? You'd pop that thing and that needle would do like that. And he said, yeah. And I said, we rolled through there. And as we got there, I told Beatty, I said, you know, engine's a little big. He said, how big? I said, a little big. And I said, we rolled it up on that scale, and I said, and I'm 375 pounds light. And he said, what? And I said, I'm 375 pounds light. Just telling you before you let that thing land. That thing bounced about 3 times and down he went. He said, okay, just don't bring it back like that next week.
See, that was one engine you ran before the King, man.
Well, they experimented with me. If it was a big engine and it would last, then they'd put it in his car. That's the way it went.
So, Kyle, it turns out the King's hand-me-down's not so bad, I guess, huh?
Some of them weren't too bad. And it's funny, rewatching that, I'm the only guy that's really retired there that would fess up that I did anything. Ned and Larry and my man Elliott sit there like this. We didn't do anything.
I will say the moral to the story, I think when you look at the way penalties have been handed down here of late, Kyle and I picked really good years to become broadcasters.
Yes, great years.
And we got to say a special thanks to Bill, Ned, and Jimmy for giving us their time, and certainly our producer, Pam Mariani, who did an unbelievable job of putting it all together. I'm going to head to the booth. Larry, you're in charge. And as I head out, let's look at some photos we found via hashtag NASCAR. Smokey with Miss Sprint Cup. I think he's one smart bear. Jimmy Johnson, well, he's pretty sharp when it comes to New Hampshire. 3 victories here, spending some time signing autographs for the kids this morning, and he's not the only one. Teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. also sending his signature to a few well-wishers. We wish the best of luck to all these guys. Countdown to Green continues after the break.
Welcome back, Countdown to Green, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. What you're looking at, what has been my home for 6 weeks of NASCAR on TNT. So why don't we do what we've done every single week, and let's come inside and let's open up Larry Mack's toolbox and let's break down this track. They call it a speedway. It measures a little over a mile in length, but it actually races a lot like a short track. Now, let's take a look at turn 1 and 2. Look at there, not very much banking. Some of the lowest banking that we go to, 2 to 7 degrees, a lot of corner entrance speed, getting the car to go through the middle of the corner and accelerate off the corner onto the back straightaway. Now let's go down to the other end, turn 3 and 4, very similar to 1 and 2, the same amount of banking, but turn 3, getting into the corner is a little bumpy, tends to upset the race car, getting it to rotate and go through the middle and accelerate off turn 4 onto the front straightaway. Now, while we're talking about the straightaways, let's take a look at those. They're very similar in length, 1,500 feet, and if you look at it, they're pretty much symmetrical. They're almost like 2 drag strips. And honestly, how you get off the corner will dictate the speed down those long straightaways. Now, in our last 4 races of NASCAR on TNT, Denny Hamlin has 3 finishes, 25th or worse, but Matt Yoakum, he qualified 3rd and was fastest in both practices yesterday.
Larry Mack so impressive. Really across the board, he set the benchmark in a number of different categories, and I think probably one of the most impressive. Friday and half of Saturday, crew chief Darian Grubb was back in North Carolina awaiting the birth of his 2nd child, and this entire team stepped up, including Wheels, the engineer, really sending a statement, Denny, of just how prepared this team is for getting closer to the chase.
Yeah, Mike Wheeler, who took over, he's been with us ever since my rookie year, and so he knows me as good as anyone and knows what adjustments I'm looking for. So we've got an extremely team with a lot of depth, obviously, but our FedEx Freight car was just good from when we unloaded it and just been fine-tuning it since then. But conditions are a little bit warmer, sunny conditions today, a little bit different from what we practice, but we feel our car is going to be one that'll be in contention for most of the day.
With a car this good going in, does it give you the opportunity of maybe throwing caution to the wind even more and being aggressive and gambling, trying to knock down more wins to load yourself up with more bonus points for the chase?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fine line for us. With 2 wins, we do feel like we'll be part of the chase, but we're only 40 from falling out of the top 10, where those bonus points from winning won't count for anything. So it's a fine line between trying to get more wins, more bonus points, and then whether you even use them if you take too many risks. So today, we feel like today we have a great shot at a win, and we're going to try to take advantage of that.
Larry Mack, another driver trying to join the 3-win club in 2012.
Well, Matt, we're here at the TNT Torque presented by Toyota with my driver, Kyle Petty. And, Kyle, there's all types of keys for this 301-lap race. I know it's a short track, but you know what? It's fast. You're going to have to take care of these front fenders and this front bumper. I know you might be prone to want to shove somebody out of the way, but you know what? It's not going to drive very good if you tear that up.
No, this is the most important part of the car. I know that spoiler is back there because you got to have some downforce, but you got to have this front end and these front fenders on here to get this car, because these corners are so sweeping. You've got to rotate through the middle, and you've got to get to the middle. And without this downforce, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, because I know if he tears it up, it's going to start pushing. I'll be the one he'll be screaming at.
Exactly.
All right, we talked there in the touchscreen about the middle of the corner.
Yes.
Rotating and turning. You've got a huge belief that's the key to this race.
That is the key to this racetrack, and that key started for this race on Friday when they had the very first practice. It's the guy who can take that car, be a little bit free getting in the corner, and have that thing rotate. We saw Denny in practice. He was incredible yesterday. We've seen Kyle Busch be able to do it. Kyle Busch will back a car in the corner to get it to rotate through the center of it. So I think when you look at it, that is going to be the key. The guy that can rotate, get position, and make those straightaways long, just exactly like you said.
Now, one thing that's going to be on my shoulder, strategy for track position, probably more than likely every time we come to pit road, you may only get 2 of these. Maybe only left sides one time.
And, drivers, we always want 4, but I'm going to have to listen to you here because track position is so important.
All right, and, of course, the biggest thing, we've talked about the heat here. He's going to have to stay hydrated. We need to take a little break.
NASCAR on TNT, back live in Loudon, New Hampshire. As we get set for the green flag here today, I have made the move to the booth. Yes, it's just about time for us to call this afternoon's race at the Magic Mile. You know, when you look at NASCAR, Rick Hendrick has been amazing. 10 championships, over 200 wins. But it's not all about success on track. It's also about the love of the automobile. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
Okay, so this is it. This is the Heritage Center, huh?
This is it. This is my personal 401k.
He calls it the Heritage Center because it's like a time capsule of his entire life.
This was the first car I ever owned. $250 I paid for it at a gas station when I was 14 years old. And my dad and I built it in my granddad's general store. Because he and I built it together and he's not here anymore, it will always have a special place in my heart. So it's priceless. My dad taught me how to work on cars, and my mother taught me how to borrow money. If it wasn't for my mom getting those 90-day notes for me, I would have never gotten into the car business. So I wanted to build something as a tribute to her.
So you got your business acumen then from Mom?
I did.
From his grandfather's country store to his earliest days of boat racing and his Hollywood-famous car dealership, this place tells the story of a man always driven by his love of the automobile.
I think I was born a car guy. I mean, I was drag racing when I was 14. Then I was boat racing. I just love speed, and I love the water. I love cars. I love racing. Looked at the automobile business as a way to make a living, but the racing never leaves your system.
Rick Hendrick's driving career was short-lived. He opted instead to sell cars off the track, build a NASCAR dynasty on it. Today, with more than 80 dealerships in 12 states, Hendrick Automotive Group is the second largest privately held group in the country, meaning for the past 28 years, Rick Hendrick's profession has helped to fund his passion.
Jimmy Johnson gets it done, scoring the 200th Sprint Cup win for Hendrick Motorsports.
You're finally over the hump of 200 wins.
Finally.
What now? What are the next goals for you personally?
When I look at trying to get to 250 or 260, as competitive it is today, I just try not to even think about that. I think now I want to see us win championships. You know, if you had all of your wishes, you'd say, like to see Casey win his first one, Dale win his first one, Jimmy win number 6, and Jeff win number 5.
Jeff Gordon wins the championship. Jeff Gordon wins the AC Delco 400, his 12th victory of the 1998 season.
Without question, one of the most competitive people I've ever met is Jeff Gordon. Here he's got 4 championships. He sure doesn't want to be one behind Jimmy.
Yeah.
And he really wanted to be a 7-time champ. What do you do with him now?
He's had the roughest luck this year of any year that we've raced together.
Jeff Gordon now on his side as he slams the outside retaining wall over the DuPont Chevrolet goes.
If it was anybody else other than Jeff Gordon, the wheels would have probably run off of it by now. But he's always able to suck it up and, you know, say, we'll turn it around.
There's a time down the road, and it's probably not as far out as a lot of us would like it to be. Jeff Gordon's career as a race car driver is going to come to an end. Do you dread that?
I think it will be a time when I'm going to feel like something, like maybe your arm's missing when you walk in the garage if he's not driving one of my cars. But it's going to be a void the day that Jeff Gordon doesn't strap into a car, just like it was a void the day that Dale Earnhardt didn't show up.
And that's what makes Rick Hendrick so successful. He's always thinking one step ahead, already grooming Bill Elliott's son Chase as Gordon's possible replacement. Racing has never left Hendrick's system, and nowadays that passion can directly fuel his profession.
This is your LS9 ZR1 Corvette. This is the ultimate street car today from Chevrolet. Well, I'm a huge 70 Chevelle fan, and I love the 70 convertible, so I put the LS9 Corvette motor in my Chevelle. So
because you can.
Because we've got a couple of these cars that are for sale. This one, it all depends on how much you're willing to pay. The difference is the skin's the same, but underneath is a new chassis, the new LS motor. You've got all of the luxuries of a brand new car. with the old look.
And then I just got to figure out how much horsepower I want to order up, and off I go.
And we can go from 400 to 750, whatever you want.
You've always been busy, going a million miles an hour, but I don't think I've ever seen you busier than you are now. And now's a period in your life when you would think you're kind of easing off the throttle a little bit.
It's a disease. I wish I could do something about it. I tell you, I think it's because I love what I do, and I want to see the people that are here have opportunities to grow and do the things that they want to do in their dreams. And I think my job has always been to try to look at where it's going and what you need to do to be ahead or equal tomorrow.
Mr. Hendrick is an amazing man, and he's got to be feeling good today. All 4 of his drivers starting inside the top 10, including Dale Earnhardt Jr., who rolls 9th. He's with Matt Yocum.
Now, Adam, New Hampshire is a mile, and its characteristics, though, lend itself more like a short track, and you're so good on the short tracks, Junior. Does it fall more into your wheelhouse of the characteristics that you like?
Yeah, I enjoy running here. Always have. We've always had good cars here. And it is fun, you know. It's real hard to pass, and you got to work real hard to get around guys, and every position's real important because the race is kind of short, so it's kind of like the perfect distance. So I really enjoy it. I really enjoy running here, and hopefully we can have a good day. I would have liked to see a little more speed out of our car practice, but you know, it's a long race, and you know, we got enough time to work on it.
One of a handful of teams that did the Goodyear tire test up here on the Magic Mile. Junior rolls off 9th. Adam?
Matt, it is rare that teammates start 1-2 and finish 1-2 in a race. First time it ever happened, 1957, North Wilkesboro. Fireball Roberts and Paul Goldsmith pulled it off. The next time, 1989, Darrell Waltrip and Ken Schrader did it for Rick Hendrick. And 1 year ago, it was Ryan Newman and Tony Stewart. Starting on the front row, they finished 1-2. Newman rolls 6th today. He's with Ralph Shaheen.
Yeah, and he's multitasking, signing autographs here on tickets and riding and waving. Hey, that 1-2 last year, pretty impressive. You guys were so strong here. How good are you going to be this year? All the same stuff?
Well, very similar. The biggest difference is the tire. The tire's a little bit different, especially the right side. So we'll see if we got it adapted correctly. I think our cars are good. The U.S. Army Chevrolet was decent in race trim yesterday. We qualified 6th, so we got some decent track position. We got some decent pit selection. We'll see if we can make use of it. No reason why we can't. We've done it before.
One of the things you did last year was a unique strategy, only changing those left side tires one time. Same plan today?
Change them when you need to. All depends on how the yellows fall and how the strategy plays out. I've always said this is the birthplace of track position. We'll see if it's the same way today, and I'm pretty sure it will be.
Well, and one of the ways you did that last year was you led 119 laps in this July race. In fact, you led 30% of all the laps here in New Hampshire last year. Do you want to try to get up front and dominate that way, or are you going to look at it a little bit differently since you're starting a little deeper in the field?
If we can, we will. It's the place to be, no doubt. But, I mean, you also want to just maintain and keep your equipment underneath you and manage your tires. The last thing you want to do is run them off. This tire's pretty tough, so we'll see how it all works out.
Okay, no more time for autographs, Chris. He's got to jump out of the truck. Time to get in the car.
Well, Kevin Harvick is 6th in the championship. He's won here before, and first of all, congratulations on your son. But most importantly, this championship. You're in a good spot right now, lining up for the chase. Got 8 races to go. Can you take some risks and go for a win and try to get some bonus points?
Well, we're kind of in a strange spot, to tell you the truth. Obviously, we've got some things that we need to work on to try to keep the performance of our cars up and try to make them a little bit better. So obviously you want to try to put yourself in position to win. You've seen a couple of these guys win a few races, and obviously the bonus points mean something. So we gotta balance that. And, you know, obviously if we're in position to win, we're going to go for it.
Kevin Harvick rolling off 12th today.
Thanks, Chris. And Kevin, one of 10 drivers doing double duty this weekend. Time now for today's NASCAR Nationwide Series recap, brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. There are always a few moments for a handful of drivers at New Hampshire. Lap traffic, the aforementioned Kevin Harvick gets caught up. Brad Keselowski makes the pass, gets his 19th career victory and his 2nd in 2012 in nationwide competition. Keep up with all your favorite drivers on NASCARNationwideSeries.com. And now the results from yesterday. Plenty of Cup flavor in the top 10. BK at the top of the board. Kevin Harvick there. Austin Dillon, Sam Hornish Jr., Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the top 5. And Casey Kane starting on the front row today. That's where he started yesterday and finished in the 6th position. Clint Boyer, he's won here twice at New Hampshire. We're going to follow that 15 team all day long. It's Inside Tracks here on TNT. And leading them to the green, that guy, Kyle Busch, Rowdy, trying to get his second victory at the Magic Mile. We hear from him when Countdown to Green rolls on after a break, live in Loudon, New Hampshire.
Eight races to go. You're just outside the top 10 in points, but you've got that win, you've got that wild card. How do you approach these last 8 races?
Same as we have all year long. You know, you just got to get back on track here a little bit and start working through some of the bugs that we've had going our way. But all in all, the Interstate Batteries Camry's been fast this weekend, so really excited about today's race here in Loudon and see if we can't win another one. If you win another one, you lock yourself in, but also if you finish up front and keep doing the right things and getting the good finishes going for you, you'll be back in the top 10 before you know it, and you won't need to count on those wild cards.
Kyle won here in 2006. He's looking to win again today.
And Chris, he has been great all weekend long. So I wonder if any of our experts are going to pick him today. We'll get to the picks in a moment. First, the standings. Wally Dallenbach laying it on him. He's in front of Kyle Petty, and I'm not. Did Larry McReynolds miss a race somewhere? Did he forget to make a pick? That hurt, didn't it? It feels so good to be up here with greatness. You got a huge lead. Who you going with today?
Well, it's funny. We had a little issue today on the picks because I picked what Kyle picked, and Larry McReynolds pulled out the protest sheets right away.
Yeah, he did.
So I thought, all right, I'm going to take another pick. I'm going to go with the 11. I mean, that's not a bad pick.
I was going to.
I'm going to go way out on a limb here. Denny gets around this place good. We watch his times in practice, and he's really good on the long runs, which is really, really important. So I think my lead is protected right now.
And he was quickest in both practices here yesterday. If you hear that noise in the background, that would be Larry and Kyle. Okay, now you can defend yourselves, fellas. Who you going with?
Well, I've been docked points 3 consecutive weeks for illegal parts and pieces. So when you're in the position that I'm in, you have to swing for the fence. I'm going to get me a point right off the bat because my man's going to lead the first lap. I'm going with Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch, a good pick. Okay, I'm going with the pride of Emporia, Kansas. Again, this is the second time during this time. I should have picked him in California. I didn't. I don't know where my head was. Clint Boyer. He's going to. I think he's won 2 here, right?
Yes, he has won. He got his first win here.
Yeah, this will be his 3rd one. Okay, so this is my man Clint Boyer today. I'm going to catch up in points here.
So, hey, Kyle and Larry. During the NBA on TNT, Kenny and Charles have their segment Gone Fishing. I'm sure you're familiar with it. We're going to have our own version here at NASCAR on TNT.
Oh, yeah.
Look at these two.
Look at
Fishing
that.
for lobster here in New England.
Mine looks like bait.
I know. That was lobster bait right there. What is that?
I can confirm, based on the biceps in the picture, it had to be just the head. The body
was.
not real on
Not
those
real.
two guys.
Not real.
Hey, we'll see you for race coverage on the other side of the break. And there's the real lobster everybody's chasing this afternoon in the Lenox Industrial Tools 301. It's about to happen. The magic at the Magic Mile. We've got pre-race ceremonies on the other side of the break. Thank you for watching Countdown to Green. We're ready to go racing in New England. NASCAR on TNT continues next. Stay with us. NASCAR rolling through New England on this Sunday afternoon. New Hampshire Motor Speedway playing host. And if you look at the top 10 starters in today's race, they've combined for 16 victories at this track, and they're all in the middle of the championship picture. It's going to be good. Now let's go trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Combined Services Color Guard presents our nation's colors. We'd also like to welcome home from a recent deployment the 197th Fires Brigade, New Hampshire Army National Guard. Remain standing as Father Chris Martell offers today's invocation.
Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for the many blessings you bestow upon us. We welcome home these soldiers, and we ask you to bless these drivers today, keeping them safe. May we have a wonderful day here, blessing all the fans, and may the best driver win. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome winner of the 2012 Speedway Star Competition, 13-year-old Emma Jonas.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's hear it for her performance of our national anthem. And Jilly Martin.
A lot of courage out of that young lady. It's going to take courage out of the drivers today at New Hampshire as well. Some of the best race fans in America right here at New Hampshire. And they're getting set for 301 laps at the Magic Mile. NASCAR on TNT, live in Loudon, New Hampshire. Well, we're getting set for round 19 in 2012. And it's going to be a hot one. I'm going to close in on a record high temperature here this afternoon in New England, somewhere around 92 degrees. Hello and welcome again, everybody. Good to have you with us. With Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach, I'm Adam Alexander. So, Kyle, this place measures just over a mile in length. They call it a speedway, but it appears to me they race a whole lot like a short track.
They run it like a short track. I heard a lot of the Nationwide guys say yesterday, short track. They called it a short track, more so than any other time we've ever been here. The drivers are referring to this place as a short track, and they've never done that before. They think you drive it like a short track, and they do drive, and you'll see today that they drive it like a short track. But that's not what we considered it. We went to Milwaukee to test. We tested on other flat tracks, but now I think to them it is a true place.
Track position is king, Wally. It's hard to pass, so what are you going to do if you're Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski, who are all starting outside the top 20?
Hope the crew chief's got the race car right, because this is one of those type of places that it is a lot of race car. You'll hear us talk about rolling through the center. We talk about it at this place all the time. Your car has got to work here. You can't force the issue. It's not like a track where it's got banking. There's not a whole lot of different grooves where you can search for. The car's got to be right. If the car's right and you can roll through the center, you're going to pass anybody you want. That's the key to this racetrack.
You guys remember what happened here last year? It was all about Stewart-Haas racing. Ryan Newman won the pole. Tony Stewart qualified on the front row with him. They started out front, and that's exactly where they finished. 1-2. Newman rolls from the 6th position today. He's won 3 times at this track. His teammate has the hat trick as well. In fact, the last time the Sprint Cup Series came here in September, it was Smoke that went to victory lane. The 3-time champion starts 10th today at Loudon, New Hampshire. Now we send it trackside. It's the command of fire engines for this afternoon's race.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, Business Development Manager for Fastenal, Darrell Bates.
Drivers, start your
engines!
The engines have fired. It's time for the party to begin, and we want you to be a part of it. Go to twitter.com/#NASCAR. We're back after a break.
With time running out until the chase, drivers fighting for the wild card are in desperate need of a win. Gaining an advantage can be tough. Sure, seconds can be saved in the pits, or rolling the dice with fuel strategy could get you a win, but sometimes you just need a break. And in New Hampshire, brakes are necessary. That doesn't mean they'll be slow and cautious. Drivers must be fast and hard with the pedal to the metal on the long straightaways, and equally hard and precise with the pedal in the middle going into the turns. Because each corner is an opportunity for a mistake nobody can afford. It's the final stop of the TNT Summer Series here in New Hampshire.
NASCAR on TNT, live in Loudon, New Hampshire, where this afternoon the Sprint Cup Series races for the 19th time in 2012. Weather for today, it's warm, we can tell you that. Could get a new record high. Right now, 90 degrees, 38% humidity, and there is a chance of a stray shower as this afternoon continues. So which driver will be the fastest out of this week's top qualifiers? Kyle Busch, Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, or Martin Truex Jr.? Text FAST to 34763 or go to attfastestdriver.com to play. Brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, AT&T. Rethink possible. The cars rolling off the pit lane. We take a look at today's starting lineup. Kyle Busch on the pole, first time for him here at New Hampshire, and fourth front row start of the season for Casey Kane. Denny Hamlin, best start at New Hampshire, and you got Martin Truex Jr. on row 2. It's his third top 5 start of the year. Row 3, Ryan Newman, a 2-time winner here alongside Clint Boyer, who's got a couple of victories. Row 4, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. They've combined for 9 championships and 6 wins here at New Hampshire. Right behind him in row 5, another one of the drivers that's won 3 times in New England. That would be Tony Stewart. Dale Earnhardt Jr. looking for his first win at the Magic Mile. Kevin Harvick has won here, so has Greg Biffle. They share row 6. Row 7 this afternoon for the 301 lapper, Kurt Busch. 3 victories at the New England track, right beside Paul Menard, his crew chief, a native of this part of the country. Brian Vickers back in the 55 car. He starts in row 8 with Joey Logano, a Connecticut native who got his first career win here at this track. Bobby Labonte, 2000 champion, on row 9 with Regan Smith. And row 10, you got Marcus Ambrose and David Reagan. Row 11, that would be Carl Edwards. His best finish here is second. That happened back in 2006, starting by Brett Keselowski, who was a runner-up here in the fall. And Sam Hornish Jr. in the 22 car again this week, replacing the suspended A.J. Allmendinger. He has 2 career top 10s here at New Hampshire. Kyle, let's hear from Denny Hamlin, who starts up front today.
Hey, Denny Hamlin, this is Kyle Petty, TNT in the booth. Do you read me?
10-4.
Hey, man, the first question is, how is your back doing? There was a lot of that went on last week. You didn't do a lot of practice in there, but how's it after a week's worth of rest? How's it feeling today?
It's, really good. It's actually better than it was before I had the episode. So back spasm is something I've had for 5 years or so, and it just goes through cycles. But feel a lot better this week. Obviously, getting some good practice time these last few days. We've got our car tuned in pretty good.
All right, man. Well, you were fast in all the practices yesterday, and this is your kind of place, just kind of a little bit like Richmond. So good luck today, man.
Thank you.
Denny Hamlin starting in the 3rd position. Before we go green, one last trip down the pit lane. We start with Ralph Shaheen.
Adam, tomorrow, Jeff Gordon will be on a plane to East Africa where he will open up a cancer research center with President Clinton. But today, it's all about trying to kickstart a push to get into the chase, something he has only missed 1 time. He's 17th in the points and needs to start winning. He's done that 3 times here at Loudon. However, the last win was August of 1998. He'll start 8th today, Chris Neville.
Ralph Smoke is going to start 10th today, but the problem this weekend, he isn't confident in the car. He says it just isn't grabbing the racetrack the way that he likes. He was at Eldora Speedway last night, and his crew chief Steve Addington called him up and said he wanted to go a different direction with the setup, try something new for the chase. Tony gave him the thumbs up on that. Now, if the 14 isn't running the top 15 late in this race, look for more big changes to that car as they're starting to focus on the chase. Matt?
Chris, Casey Kane is 16th in the championship standing, second on the grid. He has one win at this juncture of the season, but for Casey, it boils down to an 8-race season. He's got to win at least one more time in the next 8 races to try to secure a wild card spot. And Adam, his car was good, but not great in final practice. A number of changes. We'll find out in the first 25 laps if they've gone the right way.
We certainly will keep an eye on Casey Kane this afternoon. Now we check out our Geico race analysis. 301 laps. That's 318 miles. Pit road speed 45 miles per hour. There you see the pit window. That could be big because we will likely see some green flag pit stops here this afternoon. When we come back here in September, the playoffs will be underway. Today, drivers trying to make their way into the championship chase. Among them, the guys on the front row, Kyle Busch and Casey Kane. They get us going. We are underway here at New Hampshire. Kyle Busch leads the opening lap, and Clint Boyer out of line, side by side with Martin Truex Jr. into the corner. He makes the pass.
And we saw Truex on that first lap in the first corner on the high side get a little bit free, and the 11 car of Denny Hamlin got under him. Then the next corner, he was still up there on the outside, and Boyer got a position on him and drove back under him. So that's air pressure. That's a fresh racetrack. That's a lot of things.
Yeah, you can see Truex a little bit loose still. Like Kyle said, these first few laps when you're on cold tires, pressures are down. It's really like pins and needles. You're trying not to do anything severe with that steering wheel because the car will get out of shape. And that takes usually about 4, 5, 6 laps. You're in good shape.
And we saw in practice yesterday some of the left side tires, these guys had dropped the pressure so low that it was hurting the sidewall. There were marks on the sidewall. And when I say dropped it so low, talking to Larry McReynolds, he said there was 10 or 12 pounds of air in these tires. But you go out and put 10 or 12 pounds of air in a basketball and try to bounce it. It's not going to bounce. And to think that a stock car is running 150 or 60 miles an hour on that small or that little bit of air pressure is amazing.
How much does a basketball take usually?
About 18, baby.
There you go.
I think it's right in there. 18, 21, something like that.
You are versatile. You know that? Good battle going on right here just outside the top 10. Kurt Busch inside of Kevin Harvick. Both drivers have won here, and so is Logano. He's laying in the weeds behind him.
Just for the record, dodgeball is a little bit less so you can grip it, and that hurts worse when you hit somebody.
Upside the head where you're usually aiming, right? See that red and white car back behind this 3-car battle? That's Brian Vickers in the 55 this week. A couple of top 5 finishes and 3 starts in that car this season.
And Brian was really good in practice. Really good in the first practice. Really good in the practice yesterday afternoon.
Logano going to work on the inside of Kurt Busch. Kevin Harvick has already gotten by, and Ambrose and Bobby Labonte starting to get aggressive, as is Brad Keselowski, one of the drivers we said that started outside the top 20 today. A winner here yesterday at Nationwide Series competition. Five laps complete. Kyle Busch has led every one of them. Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer, Martin Truex Jr. make up the top 5.
Yeah, see, Brad had another good car in practice yesterday. He was getting around pretty well. There's 2 guys that know how to get around this place. Jeff
3
Gordon.
of them.
Yeah, 3 of them.
All of them have the triple threat at New Hampshire. 3 victories apiece. Gordon to the inside of Newman for 6th, and here comes Johnson.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll see, oh wow, 39's falling back. At this racetrack, you'll notice a lot. You'll see some guys struggle the first 10 or 15 laps of the run, and then all of a sudden, here they come from the middle to the end part of their run. So some of these guys' cars are set up for the longer run. They don't work as well the first 10, 15, 20 laps. You normally see Newman towards the end of those runs be very strong.
I don't think they felt quite as confident in the garage area this morning as they did a year ago when they started on the pole. Denny Hamlin working over Casey Kane for second as we send it down to Larry McReynolds.
Well, Adam, Kyle and Wally, they were talking about air pressure, and I guess the viewer may be wondering if they drive bad on low air pressure, why do they start them low? Well, we've been talking about long green flag runs, and you build so much air pressure, you have to start it down low to start a run on fresh tires.
And also, Larry, these tires are so good, you may have those tires on your car for a long time today.
Ryan Newman ran 150 laps, roughly half the race last year before he ever thought about changing left side tires.
You saw Denny Hamlin get around Casey Kane. Log on to NASCAR.com to experience TNT Race Buddy, presented by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the official beer of NASCAR. Race Buddy has 10 camera views and reports from Miss Coors Light and more. Of him, but he's got company. Here comes his teammate Denny Hamlin, who's taken a 1 second deficit and turned it into 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed about this, Denny Hamlin made a lot of gains on the 18, and then all of a sudden he got to that 1 or 2 car lengths, and all of a sudden it just shut down. And, his times are now matched with the 18, which goes to show you, if Denny gets out front and gets in clean air, he's probably going to be gone. But he got to that 18, and now he's in dirty air, and he can't seem to make, close the deal.
What's up, Matt?
Well, during final practice, one driver told me that he looked right at the 11 and said, that is the rocket ship. He was following Denny during practice and said Denny could just power drive so deep into the corner and then roll so smooth to the center. And it was almost like a John Force launch on exit. His car was just so strong at every inch of the corner. Denny right now, this is the car, if anything, is a little too free on exit. But boy, that car is moving to the front.
Got a couple of teammates working together at the front of the field and just outside the top 10. A couple of former winners here had a moment while we were in break a moment ago. That would be Kevin Harvick and Greg Biffle.
Biffle just drove her down in there and kind of slid up in front of the 29. 29 probably didn't appreciate it. Gave him a tag.
Clear again. Back up to you. Man, he's an idiot.
I mean, it was just a slide job, but when you do a slide job on another guy, or if you're getting a slide job done to you,
yes,
it ticks you off.
Yeah, it ticks you off.
You don't like getting past it all anyway, but especially did that way.
Because you rolled in, and all of a sudden he's past you and then stops because he's got to catch his car
because he's
at some point.
Yeah.
I just can't believe someone called someone an idiot, and I haven't heard anything from you two yet toward me, so I feel really good about that.
Day's young. The day is still young.
And we heard about Denny Hamlin and what he's got going on early. Let's get a report on Kyle Busch, Chris.
Yeah, Adam, you were saying that the 11 catching the 18. That's because Kyle Busch giving up a little bit on entry right now. You guys were talking about this being a 1 mile short track. These teams having to run their big brake package here and running fans to those brakes. And when he was running the front brake fans, he says he was going into the corner, he was getting some brake shake. So when he was hard on the brakes, that front end kind of wobbling around a little bit. He's turned that fan off, so he's given up a little bit trying to take care of those brakes for later in this race.
Got to be good on the long haul, and if you're going to win at New Hampshire, you got to be there at the end, because as we told you a while ago, it's kind of like a short track. Kyle Busch is leading with 20 laps complete. New Hampshire Motor Speedway hosting the Sprint Cup Series on this Sunday afternoon. NASCAR on TNT, glad to be here and bring it to you live. Sprint's fastest stats are brought to you live by the new Sprint Direct Connect, part of the fastest push-to-talk experience. Upgrade to the new Done. Find out more, sprint.com/speed. Kyle Busch on track today. Been very impressive, as has his teammate Denny Hamlin. Hamlin's got the quickest lap time so far.
It's all about who works the traffic the best right now with these top three guys. If Kyle catches somebody just in the wrong spot, the 11 car is going to. Wow, here comes Casey Kane out of nowhere, taking second spot. But this is where traffic, really comes into play. If you're running side by side and you got somebody up on the high side, the guy on the high side's got to lift.
Well, we're 27 laps in. Kyle Busch already starting to put cars a lap down. That's a sign of how difficult your day becomes when you don't have a good qualifying run at a place like New Hampshire.
Yeah, you've got a long time to go to get the car fixed if it's not right. That's what I said at the beginning. You hope the crew chief got the car right. You go, I don't know what the window was, 75, 80 laps before you can turn a wrench on that car if it goes green.
Casey Kane on the move early, Matt. He's back up to second.
Pretty quiet on the radio, but Casey, like you mentioned, back up to second. His car is so impressive, especially on exit of turn 2. And one thing that other teams have started to take note that Casey has migrated up from the bottom with that 5 machine and has really seemed to pick up time. And we're about halfway or so to the first round of stops. We're going to probably see some guys go with 2 tires, like Larry Mack documented back in the countdown to green. You're going to see some strategy played out on pit road because track position, as you've noticed, so key.
It's so hard to pass, exactly as Matt pointed out there. And if you look at the top 10 right now in the running order, those 10 drivers started the race in the top 10. Dale Earnhardt Jr. rolled from the 9th position. He picks up 7th, going around Martin Truex Jr.
His car's really pretty good. Watching him work Truex from the entry into the center and rolling through the center. I don't know how he is really getting off the corner because Truex was in front of him at the time, and it's really hard to tell if he was holding him up. But his car really, as we talked earlier, just rolls free through the center of the corner.
And this is a battle for 4th. Jeff Gordon right behind Clint Boyer. They go around the lap machine of Joe Nemechek. If you're chasing somebody and trying to get around them, can you use lap traffic as an asset at this place?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Ask Kevin Harvick after the race yesterday.
Yeah,
lap traffic is a factor, and I think lap traffic, like Wally said, it's all about working lap traffic right now because this is a momentum racetrack, and we saw it yesterday in the nationwide race. If anybody saw the highlights of that, when he got caught in a bad place, Harvick lost all his momentum, and it was like he lost 150 horsepower. Yeah. And that's the same thing here. You see, when you catch traffic, if you catch him in the wrong place, the guy behind you is going to close fast.
Jeff Gordon started 8th. He just went around Clint Boyer for 4th in the running order, Larry.
Well, one of our topics in the countdown to green was 8 races until the chase. And then we well-documented drivers outside the top 10 like Carl Edwards and Jeff Gordon that do not have a win. And he knows he's not going to get to the top 10 on points. And he said this week, each race that goes by without a win, the more risk we will have to take and we are willing to take.
Yeah, but, as a driver, you can't try any harder than you have been. It's almost like these guys have been running well. They just need some luck. They need some breaks to come their way. And, that's the thing. If it starts falling in their favor, they can click off some wins here easily before the chase starts. But guarantee you, these guys they're trying their guts out, as they have been all year.
A lot of folks like that 15 car this morning in the garage area. Ralph, what are they saying?
Well, right now, Clint Boyer has been very active talking to his spotter. As you watch the show on our TNT coverage, you'll see those different seams around the racetrack as we go into the corners here. There's a second seam just above where Clint is running right now. He's asking his spotter if some of the other guys are putting their right side tires up above that second seam. They said no. What they're doing is more of a shallow diamond effect. That's what the 24 and the 48 have been running, and they both just passed Clint. He's struggling to get that car to handle right now.
And I was going to just say, usually when you're diming the corners here, it's because you're not handling.
Yeah,
your car won't. Yeah, usually you're not rolling through the center.
And here's Jimmy Johnson making the pass, and you see the seams he's talking about.
I don't think he's talking about the seams there. That's pretty much on the back straightaway. Right. It must be where those, where the painted lines are. It's kind of like you see the seams where those dash marks are. That's where he's talking about.
Yeah, and I want to point out something about the 15. You saw the 15. He's looking in his mirror. The 48's coming. The 48 catches him. And even though every position is so important here, when somebody catches you that fast, if you get hung running side by side with somebody, everybody behind you is going to catch up. A lot of times it's easier, like Clint did. Pull over, give up one position, and don't worry about giving up 6 or 7. Here he's getting ready to give up another one to the 88 car of Junior.
What do you notice about all 3 cars that have passed Clint Boyer? All from the Hendrick stables.
You're kidding.
Strong today. Kane is 2nd, Gordon 4th, Johnson 5th, and Earnhardt Jr. now up to 6th in the running order. And one of them may be leading suit, Casey Kane, trying to run down Kyle Busch at the front. TNT tonight, the Leverage team returns, and if you can't pay it forward, expect some payback. Don't miss the Leverage season premiere tonight, 8/7 Central, only on TNT. Kyle Busch continues to lead this race. In fact, he started on pole. He's led all 43 laps so far. Got a challenge from Denny Hamlin. Then his teammates slipped back, and as you can see right now, it's Casey Kane right in his hip pocket, and he is closing the gap. It looks like he's really gaining ground into the corner.
It just, yeah, it seems like traffic is really coming into play here. Obviously, I mean, the lucky dog changes every single lap. These guys are lapping guys so fast right now. These guys, these top 3 cars are really hooked up.
You know, and you know when you're the car leading, you're trying to judge your place getting into the corner. You get in the corner, you let the thing roll through the front center, and you get back to the gas. The guy behind you has the advantage of seeing where you're braking, and he can outbrake just a car length. And it looks like he really gains on him in the corner, but the way Kyle gets his car rotated and gets that straight shot up off the corner, he's able to put that distance back on him again.
And here's what we talked about a couple of moments ago, lap traffic. That's the 83 machine of Landon Castle outside of race leader Kyle Busch.
And see, now that took his line away just a little bit, you know, the way the 18 normally had to come off the corner, but then the 5 had to deal with them, you know, on the straightaway.
So many times it's all about where you catch them on the racetrack and how easy they are to get around, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you always have guys that are very aware of what's coming up behind you and will give you plenty of racing room and respect that.
Let's not forget, Kyle Busch entered today's race as the wild card leader. Casey Kane had fallen out of wild card position. Joey Logano coming in had the wild card spot. Kyle Busch has led every lap from the pole. One driver who was behind the 8 ball when things started, Brad Keselowski, won here yesterday in the Nationwide Series race from the pole position, I might add, but started outside the top 20 today. Things look good early, Chris.
Well, Adam, talking to Brad's crew chief earlier, Paul Wolf, he said typically we set that car up to be very fast early in the runs, especially on 1.5-mile tracks, and that is where Brad is at his best. Just charging hard earlier in the run, but he told Brad, because of where they were starting, he was setting that car up for the long run today. He told Brad, take care of it early on because it's going to come on strong later, and that's exactly what's happening. He started 22nd. He's worked his way up to 14th right now. That car is charging. Larry?
Yeah, Chris, as you documented, he started outside the top 20, and I talked to his crew chief, Paul Wolf, earlier in the week, and Paul said even with their 3 wins and the way they're running right now, the thing they have to improve on to get ready for the chase is qualifying, because if you look at our first 18 races of 2012, he only has 5 top 10 starts and only 1 in the top 5. Paul said that's something they've got to improve on before they get to the chase, and I think especially before coming back here for race number 2 of the chase.
Larry, from 22nd to 13th in 49 laps. He's really cut down the amount of track position that he's going to have to gain throughout the remainder of this race. And he's got 3 victories. Those are big bonus points. If the chase started right now, he would be tied with Tony Stewart. And speaking of smoke, we're on board with him right here. He's riding 10th, and Harvick right behind him in the 11th spot. Won't be long before we are talking about a cycle of green flag pit stops. Right now, Kyle Busch has the field in tow. Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5 at New Hampshire. NASCAR on TNT, back live at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway in Loudon, New Hampshire. And the battle for the race lead is on. Top man right now, 18, Kyle Busch. Casey Kane right behind him in the 5, and they're coming up on the lap machine of David Reagan in the 34, who right now has scored in 29th.
Yeah, and at this part of the run, you know, you're kind of off your time. I mean, these cars are the best handling cars out there, but this is when the cars are really tight or they're pushing, and even getting around lap traffic is harder than it was earlier in the race.
Kyle Busch easily drives around, as does Kane, and that helps create some separation for the race leader. How many times have you heard it when you come to a track like New Hampshire? One thing to catch a guy, another thing to pass him. We're seeing that right now out of Kane. We saw it earlier out of Denny Hamlin.
Well, that's what I'm saying about the push right now, because everybody's kind of using the same, same space on the racetrack. It's this part of the run, like I said, the nose of the car is sliding a lot through the corners, so it really is hard to pass a car.
It's way too early, but late in the race at New Hampshire, the bump and run can be your best friend. Greg Biffle, third in the championship coming into today and trying to hold off Brad Keselowski. BK started 22nd and trying to get the 11th position away here. Is that a little nudge?
Not really a nudge, but you can see the 2 car of Brad can get to the gas a little bit quicker. You saw him kind of close that right in the middle. And right here, you see these guys give and take right now. You're not going to see this in the last 15 laps of the race, okay? But right now, like I said earlier, these guys don't want to run a lap side by side and let those guys behind them catch up.
And today's Goodyear Superior performer is the championship leader, Matt Kenseth. Not a great qualifying run on Friday. Started in the 27th position today, but he's gained 10 spots, and right now trying to get Brian Vickers. That's for 16th on track, and he's going to make it happen. There's some more of that give and take early that you talk about here at New Hampshire, Kyle. All of this a long way behind the race leader, Kyle Busch. 60 laps complete. The pole sitters led every one of them. Green flag pit stops when we return to Loudon, New Hampshire. NASCAR on TNT back in Loudon, New Hampshire. 65 of 301 laps complete in the Lenox Industrial Tools 301. Time down for Ram No Guts, No Glory. We'll do that in a moment. First, Chris Neville. The 16 is in.
Yeah, Greg Biffle taking advantage of coming to pit lane. You're going to do 4 tires of fuel set. The car is running well. He's a little bit concerned about the brake temperatures, though. Also, Tony Stewart coming to pit lane. He said that car was really loose early on, but late in the run, about 45 laps in, starts getting tight.
I got him. 15 of Clint Boyer is in. They're going to change right side tires and then come around and take all 4 on that car. He was good early on, Matt, but the handling went away.
And the 5 of Casey came close to a stop. You can see the brake dust just compiling off that right front, using tremendous amount of brakes here. Air pressure to try to help the exit of 5, Chris.
Well, Kyle Busch hits the box. He's led every lap here today. A little bit concerned about those brake fans, giving him a little bit of wobble up front. He's been trying to take care of them. He's going to do 4 tires on the stop. He said the car a little bit loose early on, but tightens up late in the run. Ralph?
Matt Kenseth is in with the 17. They go around. They're going to change 4 on this car as well for Kenseth. He's just about completed his service, and he's ready to go, Matt.
And the 11, Denny Hamlin in right side tire is already out. Will be a 4-tire change. Everyone hoping for a caution during that first run to try to get in the 2-tire cycle. Air pressure change for Hamlin. He needed help. 2-3 on entry and exit.
And as Denny Hamlin leaves, and Dale Jr. as well, 2 fast entering on our pole sitter Kyle Busch, and he also had a hang-up when they made their pit stop.
Not to mention the right rear tire was a hang-up, so
here comes
that's
Gordon,
going to put him back.
Jeff Gordon is in on the number 24. This car has been a little loose on entry, pretty good in the middle, loose off. The car is actually jumping off the corner. They're going to make an adjustment to the chassis. In the rear of the car, they're going to change 4 tires, put fuel in it. Lunging off the corner is one thing. Jumping off the corner, Kyle, is a whole nother story for the driver.
15.2 seconds on the stop for Jeff Gordon. And here comes his teammate, Jimmy Johnson, Matt.
And pitting right on the exit of turn 4, Jimmy Johnson. He started today in the 7th position. You can see the wrench in the back window. Chad Canals calling for a chassis adjustment. Jimmy said the car was 2-3 on entry and 2-3 on exit, Ralph.
The 39 car of Ryan Newman makes his way down pit road now, coming to the service of his Army crew. They go to work on the right side of that car. He's been really struggling with this machine all morning here so far as this race got underway. They jump around to the left side of the car now. Tires will be changed all the way around on the 39.
Well, that deal's going to be very costly for Kyle Busch.
Yes, it is. The pit stop itself hurt him.
Yeah.
But the penalty's going to really hurt.
Yeah. Kurt Busch had cycled through as the race leader. Here he comes for his green flag stop, Ralph.
Yep, his turn in the box. Here they go, around to the right side of that car. They're going to go to work on that side. Should be a 4-tire change for this car as well. Everybody going to do that. They're going to make a chassis adjustment to the left side of this car to help the handling for Kurt Busch.
When the green flag pit stops began, Kyle Busch was the race leader, had a problem on pit road, and was speeding. He is now scored in the 22nd position, some 44 seconds back of the race leader.
Yeah, you look at the right rear, and they'll get hung up. So you got 3, 4, 5, 6, say 9 or 10 seconds and held them up on top of the drive crew. So, I mean, it wasn't that one was bad enough, but both of them, he sits in what now, 21st spot?
Yep, 21st, and how about this, 44 seconds behind the race leader. The new man out front after the cyclist stops his teammate Denny Hamlin, who was running third when things began. And look at those numbers. That's big.
Yeah, that's just a pit stop, right? Not the
time on
then
pit
you throw
road.
the penalty on top of that. So
that's huge under green.
Yeah.
Time now for our no guts, no glory. The risk reward in this race. And we talked about it in Countdown to Green. You gotta have good track position. Sometimes that means strategy. Under green flag stops, you gotta fill up the car. You're gonna put on 4 tires. That could change under a caution flag situation as this race continues.
Yeah, and I think so. Larry, you know, I think Larry can explain a lot more of this, but for me, the big, as we look at this car was running third. Denny Hamlin was running third. He goes from third on the pit stop exchange to go to the lead.
Larry, what do you see?
Well, yeah, 4 tires, 4 fresh tires, they're going to be quicker. And as you guys pointed out, you're going to be sitting in your pits long enough to dump 19 gallons of Sunoco race fuel. Go ahead and take the 4 tires. I think we'll start to see some of the 2-tire strategy is when you have so much competition on pit road at once, and that's when you'll take the 2 tires trying to gain track position. But the driver that I see that made huge gains on that exchange of green flag pit stops, we've been talking about him, Brad Keselowski in the 2 car, he is now running 6, but just pretty much solidifies what I was talking about. He got his 4 fresh tires much earlier at lap 63, so I think he made most of those gains on the fresh tires before, like Hamlin, Kane, Gordon, Johnson, before they came to pit road.
And another thing about this place we really haven't pointed out yet is pit lane under caution here is very, very tight. You see a lot of mistakes being made and problems in pit lane. So if we get a caution, you get 40-some or 30-some cars on pit lane. There's always something that happens.
You talk no guts, no glory here. Fuel mileage could be a part of that equation late in the race as well. Denny Hamlin, your race leader under green. Sunday afternoon, Kyle Busch started on the pole, led the first 66 laps, but in a cycle of green flag pit stops, driver 18 was caught speeding on pit road, had a tough pit stop under green, and now he finds himself in the 17th position, but encouraging words from his crew chief on the radio. Listen in.
No emotion right now, no emotion. 100% driving talent. I know it's frustrating. We got 225 laps to go. We got a good car and the best driver out there. We're just chip away here, one by one.
And that's the attitude you have to have early in the race.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that's the crew chief and the spotter talking to him. and just trying to encourage him. I don't know what he said before that, but, you know, when he said no emotion, they just want to keep Kyle calm because he does have a really good race car. And he's not a lap down. He's in a position to catch a caution. Yeah, he's going to have to pass a lot of cars to get back to the front, but we saw Brad do it, and we've seen other guys come from the back to the front. And there is lots of time left in this race.
Yeah, you mentioned Brad Keselowski started back in the 22nd position. Larry pointed out a moment ago. Good cycle of pit stops for them. Got him up to 6th. Harvick's jumped in the top 10. Matt Kenseth, also a driver that's on the move. Kind of been the Joe Gibbs Invitational here today. You got Kyle Busch, who led the first 66 laps. A few other drivers led laps in that cycle of green flag stops. When it all shook out, it was Denny Hamlin on point, and he's now had the field in tow for 16 circuits.
And one thing about these races going green like this, the leader is just putting guys down a lap. I mean, he's already up to 23rd spot. The next guy he's going to put a lap down is Bobby Labonte.
Talked earlier about how strong the Hendrick contingent has been this afternoon at New Hampshire. Got a great history here. 8 wins for Mr. H at the Magic Mile. And Jeff Gordon right there in 3rd. A driver that absolutely needs to win. And certainly this is a place where he can get it done.
And you know, we talk about qualifying being so important, just as Wally said. He's lapped up to Bobby Labonte, who's in 22nd, 23rd position. This is why qualifying is important. When you have this long a green flag, and we see that more and more and more in Cup racing, you don't get that opportunity to fix your car. It better be perfect like Brad's was when this race started.
And now we get our first caution of the day.
There's your caution.
Debris in
caution.
turn 3.
As you were saying, Kyle?
Just let me talk about a caution.
Looks like Eric Almirola, the first driver, 1 lap down. We will confirm that he gets the free pass. Bobby Labonte also flirting with that position. 88 laps complete. They've been in under green. What do we see under caution in regard to strategy, Larry?
Well, I think they're going to come, but I don't think you're going to see any 4-tire stops, because if you do pit here, Adam, this pretty much puts you in a window of where you can maybe make this race on 2 stops. But this is where we start to see the strategy unfold. But who knows? This may be where Kyle Busch and Dave Rogers in the 18, maybe they stay out and try to get that track position back.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I mean, you think there'll be a lot of guys taking fuel only on this,
I think that'd be a high possibility, because most of them only have about 20 laps on their tires right here since that green flag stop.
So pretty much if you're in the middle to the back of the pack, your gamble is to either stay out there or do maybe a splash and go. But
Bobby Labonte gets the free pass here. First car 1 lap down, scored in the 23rd position. Safety officials getting the debris that brought out our first caution of the day at lap 88. To pit or not to pit? Pit road is open, and here comes the race leader, Denny Hamlin. Let's start with Matt Yoakum.
And Denny Hamlin and his crew chief Darian Grubb talking about their strategy. Denny says the car was really good for the first 5 laps and then went away quickly, looking for an air pressure change, as well as on the 5 of Casey Kane. His car, they're trying to free that 5 machine up again. 2 tires.
Well, Brad Keselowski coming to pit lane. The car was working well early on after that last run. He said the car a little free going in, a little tight in the center. It looks like we're just going to have 2 stops down here. Brad's down and away.
Denny Hamlin leading the race, came down pit road. One driver making a gutsy call, that would be Jeff Gordon. He stayed on track. We'll reset the running order when we return to New Hampshire. Log on to NASCAR.com/AE Sweeps for your chance to win one of 3 Chevrolet Silverados in the American Ethanol Sweepstakes. American Ethanol, American grown, American made, powering NASCAR. 92 of 301 laps complete here at New Hampshire. Jeff Gordon is the race leader. He did not come down pit road at lap 90 like everyone else on the lead lap did. Most of those drivers taking 2 tires. The one driver we know of that did fuel only, Kyle Busch. He goes from 17th prior to the caution to 10th as we get set to go back green. On the front row, Gordon, the leader, chooses the outside lane alongside Denny Hamlin, who's already led 19 laps today. We complete lap 93 as we go back green. Hamlin didn't waste any time, did he?
Now this is when it's real important to be out front if you're going to talk about clean air, because you look at how packed up they are right now. A little bit more shoving going on than on the start of the race.
I know you guys were surprised.
I was surprised these guys came in. The 18.
The 18, yeah.
I thought they would have stayed out. As good as their car has been, they would have been sitting on the front row on the restart. So that was probably my biggest surprise, that those guys came in.
I'll tell you, Matt Kins has had a nice afternoon. Started 27th, drove his way inside the top 15, pitted for 2 tires there at lap 90, and he's working for more inside of Clint Boyer for 12th. These restarts so important to grab as much position as you can, because after it gets spread out, it's tough.
It is tough, and we talked about a little bit of give and take earlier. When those guys are real spread out, you'll see a guy give a guy a position. On these restarts, you don't see anybody give anybody anything.
You talked about Kyle Busch, Wally, surprised that they elected to come down pit road. But Jeff Gordon, running third, stayed out. And I know that surprised you as well on that last cycle.
Well, it kind of did, but then I got to thinking about it. You don't know what anybody's going to do behind you. It would have been a great move if there had been 10 guys behind him that stayed out as well. So you kind of put yourself out there not knowing what everybody else is going to do.
What's their thought process there, Ralph?
Well, it was a strategic move by crew chief Alan Gustafson, the very last second to tell him to stay out. Don't forget, this is a team that, as I said earlier, has won here 3 times, but they finished here second 5 times since that last win here in 1998. They know these next couple of weeks going through Indianapolis are crucial for them if they want to get into the chase. Sometimes I think, Wally, you just got to shake things up and reach a little bit when you're in a position like this, when you have to kickstart some good luck.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely, nothing else is working. So, anything is game.
Jimmy Johnson has spent his entire time inside the top 10 today. Just went around Casey Kane for 3rd on track. Larry?
Well, the biggest thing when I look at Jeff Gordon in that 24 and his crew chief Alan Gustafson is we just completed lap 98. He made his green flag pit stop at lap 69. They have to bank on the fact that over the next 35 to 40 laps we're going to get a caution. Otherwise, he's going to have to make a green flag pit stop, and everyone else will be able to go 20 or 25 laps longer.
And Ralph mentioned Alan Gustafson, the crew chief that made the strategy call for Jeff Gordon. He has 2 wins here. Took Mark Martin to victory lane in September of '09. Did the same for Kyle Busch back in July of 2006. The only win here for Kyle. And updating his situation, told you, started on the pole, led the first 66 laps. Couple of problems on a cycle of green flag pit stops. Driver 18 now 9th. And from team 24, you see it there, sharing via Twitter that Jeff Gordon, the only car on the lead lap not to pit. And if you want to be a part of the conversation today, you can do it at twitter.com/#NASCAR. Kyle Busch 9th, looking for 8th. A couple of Toyotas going at it there. That's Martin Truex Jr. in front of him. Been a long time since Truex went to victory lane. Only career victory coming at Dover. And you have to believe this is a place that would be a great candidate for him to snap that long winless streak, because he spent so much time racing here in the Northeast growing up.
Looked pretty even in 1 and 2, but boy, Kyle looked like he got through 3 and 4. Just a little bit better than Truex.
Truex is 8th right now, Matt.
That caution came at a great time for Martin Truex on the first stop. They made a wedge adjustment to try to tighten the race car up. Martin said the car was actually worse. The team went back to their DVR on their pit box, replayed their pit stop, and noticed they went the wrong way with their wedge wrench. So they made that adjustment on the last stop, but Martin says the car is just absolutely sliding loose. Sun's back out again. The track is slickened up for the 56.
We'll see if he can hit the curveball here today, trying to snap that 185 race winless streak. He's going to have to run down this guy to do it. Denny Hamlin dominating out front here in Loudon, New Hampshire. Back here at New Hampshire, now we update our AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. The man you see on your screen, the race leader, Denny Hamlin, has the fastest time so far. Text FAST to 34763 or visit attfastestdriver.com. Brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, AT&T. Rethink possible.
Wow.
How about that? Jimmy Johnson right around his teammate Jeff Gordon for the runner-up spot. So those guys battling inside the top 5. Back around 10th, we had a moment while we were away. Watch Greg Biffle in the 16.
Yeah, Biffle's been driving in pretty hard. He drove in a little bit too hard this time and did a really, really good job keeping it off the 18.
And this is on board with Ryan Newman, front row seat.
And that's all that is at driving it in like 5 feet deeper than you have been in the past.
And you heard how long the 39 car of Ryan Newman stayed off of. But look at that thing. It steps out right there. He chases, and just all but stops to get it back up under him.
Kyle Busch starting to make his way back toward the front, Chris.
Yeah, Adam, he's recovering well after that penalty in pit lane and the slow pit stop, and he's been very quiet on the radio. And a lot of this goes back to a conversation which I had with crew chief Dave Rogers earlier. He's saying he's just a much more mature, much more calm Kyle Busch this week, and he really saw that at Kentucky 2 weeks ago when Kyle got into the wall late in that race. They had to change the right rear shock. He went from first all the way back to 22nd. Late going to that race, he charged to 10th. And Dave Rogers said he was quiet on the radio the entire time. Once again today, quiet on the radio and charging, coming back from that early race penalty.
Sometimes if you're going to be successful, you got to overcome adversity. Chris pointed out the problems for Kyle Busch today, but he's doing a nice job of staying in the game. Led the first 66 laps from pole, and once he had those issues, it was his teammate that took over, Denny Hamlin.
Like Kyle mentioned, it happened early enough in the race to where you had plenty of time to recover. If this would have happened later in the race, it would have definitely been a different story.
So Hamlin's out front, and right behind him, the Hendrick Parade. Johnson second, Gordon third, Kane fourth, and Earnhardt running in the final spot inside the top 5 right now, Larry.
Yeah, they all qualified inside the top 10, but I go back to Kentucky 2 weeks ago. If you think about it, all 4 of these drivers finished in the top 6. And I know before Kentucky, there were some rule changes made with rear sway bars and rocker skirts. In the garage area, it felt like that was directed to the Hendrick camp. Well, if it was, either A, they have completely overcome it, or it was not directed to them whatsoever because they look just as strong here as they did 2 weeks ago at Kentucky.
This reminds you a little bit of Martinsville back in the spring, late in the race, running 1, 2, 3 at one point. You think there's not some team pride? Forget about it. Hendrick, Gibbs, Stewart-Haas combining for 4 wins apiece so far in 2012. Those Penske victories, all 3 of them coming for Brad Keselowski, who's been solid here today as well. Right now, they're all trying to run down a JGR driver. It's Denny Hamlin flexing his muscles at New Hampshire. His advantage, 3.1 seconds over second place Jimmy Johnson. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in Loudon, New Hampshire at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. This afternoon, it's the Lenox Industrial Tools 301. Thank you for being with us here on TNT. 120 of 301 complete. Closing on halfway. Denny Hamlin, the man out front, 2.6 second advantage over second place Jimmy Johnson. And as we approach the crossed flags here this afternoon in New England, we can tell you there are reports of rain showers in the area. And if you're new to NASCAR, once we go past the halfway point, this race becomes official if we get weather and could not go the scheduled distance. And that's worth pointing out here because 2 of the last 4 summer races at New Hampshire have been rain shortened. So you got Hamlin up front, and back behind him a couple of Hendrick cars going at it for the 5th position. You saw Casey Kane. There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Brad Keselowski coming up and trying to break up the Hendrick party. Brad's been great today. Started 22nd, drove his way up inside the top 15 through a cycle of green flag pit stops, got to 6th. That's where he is now as you watch Greg Biffle and Kyle Busch go at it for 9th. These two connected at the hip for a good while.
Kyle Busch takes that spot. Yeah, Kyle's got a very good race car today.
These two guys have been going at it for the last 15 or 20 laps.
They have.
I mean, and we saw earlier the 16 get in under him and get a little free, and now he's running back down and he's right back on his bumper again.
Back behind him, Ryan Newman, 3-time winner at the track. As you go on board here into the corner with Greg Biffle, and now up off turn 4. The Coca-Cola in-car camera on TNT Race Buddy lets you ride shotgun with Coca-Cola Racing family drivers. Go to NASCAR.com and check out the Coca-Cola in-car camera on TNT Race Buddy.
Now, 16 definitely getting into the corners a little bit deeper than the 18.
Yeah. This is what's cool about this. Watching the 16 of Greg Biffle and Kyle Busch. Last night we were standing down there on the Jay Howard trailer watching the Global Rally Series, and they were talking to each other and laughing. You think they're laughing right now?
No.
No. They don't want to talk to each other at all. But it's pretty cool to see those guys do that one night and then go out here and race this hard the next day.
Shoot, sometimes you see them standing at the driver introduction stage, maybe at their car before they climb in, best of friends. Great enemies when they get behind the wheel and put the helmet on.
But these two guys are giving each other plenty of room. You know, Kyle has gone in and slipped up a couple of times and given Greg tons of room. You see Greg close in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, and what you're trying to do at this point, you're just trying to wear out Kyle Busch's rearview mirror.
Exactly.
You know, and Kyle knows he's there. Trust me. And Biffle's just trying to run close enough to where he forces a mistake, just a small mistake that the 18 will make. So he can close down the deal. But, you know, the 16 car is awfully good right now. And like I said, I thought he was using a lot more brake than most of these guys were earlier because he was getting in, deeper and deeper.
Let's watch him close the gap. Here, the 16, 20, 15 feet behind the 18 in the corner. That's a cool thing to watch. And you can see exactly where he gains the ground.
And you can. And you see, he drops back, he goes back, he worries him, he comes back. They're going back and forth. The one thing about Kyle is, I don't think Kyle ever looks in the mirror. He's not one of those drivers you can worry into a mistake. He may make a mistake, but I don't believe that the driver behind him forced Kyle Busch to make a mistake. He got in too hard, something happens to him, but he just doesn't worry about it.
And let's give Kyle Busch a big pat on the back in the maturity category. He has grown so much over the years. Big problems early in this race while leading, the pit road speeding penalty, the bad pit stop. He stayed right in the game. They coached him through it, and here he is inside the top 10. He's a caution away from being back toward the front. And when he gets there, he's likely going to see that guy, his teammate, Denny Hamlin, who has now led 55 laps, and he's out front with 172 to go. 134 of 301 laps complete this afternoon here at New Hampshire. It continues to be Denny Hamlin out front. His advantage over Jimmy Johnson, 2.6 seconds. Now we take it through the field, brought to you by McDonald's. Matt Yoakum gets us going.
And Denny Hamlin backing up that pre-race prognostication by a lot of different crew chiefs. Currently out front, P1, the car, he says, is really going back and forth. It's too tight, then it's too loose. He said the car just seems to need a little more stability on late exit. And then here's the Hendrick Armada, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. He's got 3 wins here in New Hampshire, 2 points paying wins this season. Right now, he's about 3 seconds back of the leader. And Jimmy says the back, not bad. He's just been chipping away. And then there's the 5 of Casey Kane. He's trying to score another win to try to solidify himself as a wild card contender for the chase. Casey says they're going to go back up on the air pressure change. He says the right rear tire just feels so much better. The car route just a little free on entry.
Matt, Jeff Gordon has appeared in the last 6 chases, and they're trying to do it again this year. Alan Gustafson gambling with the fuel strategy, staying out. They are scheduled to come in about 11 laps. He says the car's really falling off late in the run, Matt, and it's also too tight when it closes up on somebody.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. started the day in the 9th position. One of those drivers who performed the Goodyear tire test up here. He had hoped that would give them more of an advantage, but he felt like they were a little bit off. They made some changes at the car this morning. Right now, he runs in the 5th position. Chris, the car still on the free side. We're back in total shade.
Matt Brad Keselowski stalled right now in 6th place. Can't make up a lot of ground there. Talking to his crew chief, Paul Wolf, he said, really looking at the first half of the season, that team just has 2 black eyes. Texas and Las Vegas, where they had fuel pump issues. But at both of those races, they were running in the top 10. That car right now on the last stop, they reversed the air pressure change they made on the first stop. It's a little free in and a little tight in the center. Matt?
Keelan's dad in the 29 car, Kevin Harvick, he's running in the 7th position. One of 2 drivers in the top 10, still winless in 2012. Harvick started the day 7th. It was loose earlier in the first half of the race. Now it's a little bit more on the tighter side. They plan to make an air pressure change on the next stop. And Martin Truex Jr., this team, what a difference a year makes. Back at Kansas, shoulda, coulda, woulda, won, dominated the event, came home with a 2nd place finish. But that was a good indication, Chris, of just how far this team has come in just a year, the car on the free side.
And Kyle Busch right now in 9th after that penalty, making a big charge to the front right now. And Dave Rogers, his crew chief, told me earlier, the big thing with 8 races to go is run what we've got. Don't take any big chances these weekends. We don't want to hurt ourselves in the point situation. If we have a car to win, we win. If we don't, let's finish where we do. The 16, Greg Biffle right now, that car a little bit free going in, also a little bit concerned about the brakes. Larry?
Yeah, Chris, this has not been the best racetrack for Carl Edwards in this 99 car. He has 15 starts here and only 3 top 10 finishes because he participated in the Goodyear tire test back in May, and how well he ran with this very car at Richmond, led over half the race. They had high expectations. On Friday before qualifying, they threw their setup out the window, put Greg Biffle's setup. He started back in the 21st position. He's up to 16th, but Bob Osborne elected on that last caution, that first caution, to go with 4 tires. It just seems like to me you can't make up a lot of ground when you change 4 tires and get marred back in traffic.
Larry, Chris gave us a report on Greg Biffle, who's running 10th. You talk about Carl Edwards, who's 16th. The 3rd team in the Roush organization, Matt Kenseth, started 27th. He's up to 11th in the running order. And the last time we came here to New Hampshire, all 4 Roush cars finished inside the top 10 back in September. Today, all about Joe Gibbs Racing. Denny Hamlin out front. He and Kyle Busch have dominated here today. NASCAR on TNT, back live in Loudon, New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where we're closing on halfway in the Lenox Industrial Tools 301. The race leader is Denny Hamlin. And here comes Clint Boyer. His teammate Martin Truex Jr. was in a couple of moments ago, Ralph.
Looking for the 15 coming down pit road. Clint Boyer making his stop. They're going around, changing tires all the way around on this car. He is filled up with fuel now.
And Ralph, his teammate Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 car now, they hit pit road back on lap 147. Simply, they did not get the car full of fuel on their last stop, so they had to come in early. They made a track bar adjustment to try to tighten up that 56 machine, but the second mistake today on pit road.
And Jeff Gordon also made a pit stop at lap 145, but his was scheduled because he was the driver that didn't pit when the leaders did under caution at lap 90. Gordon was running 4th. He's right now scored 1 lap down in the 20th position. Truex right behind him in 21st. Boyer, who made his pit stop, 22nd. Again, they're all 1 lap down.
Okay, as bad as Jeff's luck's been, now Jeff's a lap down. He's going to run until these other guys have to pit. The rain comes. It washes out the rest of the day. He leads the race.
And wins.
That's how quickly your race turns around. Larry.
Well, I've been looking at the weather radar, and weather is definitely about 20 to 30 miles out. Right now, Jeff Gordon, Martin Truex Jr., and Clint Boyer are getting full advantage of these 4 fresh tires as far as speed on the racetrack. What they would love to see is make sure we cycle through the green flag pit stops, which should start happening in about 10 to 15 laps. And regardless if the rain comes or not, or when it comes, they're going to make up a lot of track position because of these 4 fresh tires.
And to let everyone know, we are at the halfway point. The cross flag's out here at New Hampshire. So should we get rain at this stage and we'd be unable to go the scheduled distance, this race would be official. Denny Hamlin's advantage has hovered right around 2.5 seconds over second place Jimmy Johnson. You see Jeff Gordon on track. Casey Kane, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Brad Keselowski make up the top 5. And there's Denny Hamlin out front. He's now led more laps than anyone, 78 today. His teammate Kyle Busch started on pole, led the first 66 laps. And, you know, this is a great run for Denny Hamlin, exactly what this team needed. 3 of the last 4 races, they've had huge problems. And don't forget, last week at Daytona, didn't practice the car on Thursday, qualified it Friday. He's battling a bad back, gets involved in one of those big accidents, sore, but he said, I played golf this week. The back spasms have gone away. And obviously, when you're running as good as he is, that can end the pain real quickly, Wally.
Yeah, like I said, we talked about once you get in the car, you don't really even think about whatever issues you have. It's just getting out of the car. Afterwards, you've been sitting in a car for 3 or 4 hours.
Denny Hamlin going to make a green flag pit stop, lap 154, Matt.
Leader on pit road. His guys are up on the wall. Denny Hamlin makes his way into his pit box. Easy entry, slides to a stop. His car, not bad, but he just needs more stability on exit. Air pressure change for tires for the 11. Meanwhile, Casey Kane pitted from the 3rd position. Going for an air pressure change. You can see the wedge wrench in the back window. A good crank, and he's away.
The scheduled green flag pit stops, and they began back at lap 145 when Martin Truex Jr. and Clint Boyer were among those on pit road. Matt?
And Chad Canals calls the 48 to pit road soon. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road as well. He's going to go 4 tires. Jr. needed forward bite on exit. And the same from Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. Tight in the center, and he was just 2 free on exit. Ralph?
Here comes Ryan Newman down pit road. He just said to his crew, it's pretty much running the same way it was at the end of the first run. So they're going to make an adjustment to the chassis. You'll see the track bar adjustment going in and packing this thing full of fuel. And they're also going to make an air pressure adjustment. He took 2 tires on that last stop on lap 90, Chris.
Ralph, the 2 cars stretching a little bit further than Paul Wolfe wanted to. Why? Because they wanted to go out and lead a lap, get a point out there. Right now, this car still working well. A couple adjustments trying to tighten the car up a little bit on entry and get it to roll a little bit better through the center. They're going to do 4 tires and fuel. Ralph?
Matt Kenseth is in. I talked to crew chief Jimmy Bennett earlier today. He wasn't real sure about the setup of the car. He must be pretty happy with it right now because it doesn't look like they're making any chassis adjustments to the machine. Just 4 tires and fuel. Away he goes.
Again, we're in the midst of a scheduled cycle of green flag pit stops. And here comes Kyle Busch, the pole sitter, going to get his service at lap 157, Chris.
Yeah, he's going to need tires on this one because the tires haven't been changed on that car since that first pit stop. He said the right side tires are absolutely toast. He also said that the direction that they've been going with the changes to the car haven't been the right direction. He said, guys, let's put it back to the original settings on the 18 car where we started this race. But the only thing there is the temperature out here has changed quite a bit since we started the race. Hopefully a good stop here, 13.6 seconds.
Nice bounce back for that team when you consider the issues they had when he made his first pit stop under green. Last time he pitted, he took fuel only, as Chris pointed out. And there's Denny Hamlin. It has cycled through. He's the race leader. A 6.7 second advantage over Jeff Gordon. Back in a moment. Sprint's fastest stats are brought to you live by the new Sprint Direct Connect, part of the fastest push-to-talk experience. Upgrade to the new Done. Fastest speed today, turned by Casey Kane. You can find out more at sprint.com/speed. So Casey Kane, the fastest lap this afternoon. Best 4-tire pit stop. The 14 bunch, 12.1 seconds for Tony Stewart. The race leader is Denny Hamlin. Casey Kane, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr. make up the top 5. Time now for our KFC Fresh Off the Wire. Let's send it to Larry McReynolds.
Well, Adam, down here at Larry Mack's toolbox, I've got my weather map. You see right here is New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Now, these rings here, this one right here, represents 10 miles out. So you can see that these spotty cells, they're roughly about 20 miles away. But you look at this big front that was building last night in the Great Lakes. It's moved across the state of New York. It's about 100 miles away. I think if this right here does not mess with us, we can get the rest of this race in. But I think this big cell right here, that's definitely the one that's going to cause some real issues for us.
He wants so bad to be a weatherman. He really does. And he's good at it.
Living the dream, isn't he? For more Fresh Off the Wire, presented by KFC, visit NASCAR.com. Brad Keselowski dealing with traffic very well, just like he did in nationwide competition yesterday. He's 6th behind Dale Jr. And let's go back and visit the circumstances for Jeff Gordon, who right now is 3rd. He was 4th when that cycle of green flag pit stops began, but Gordon was on a totally different situation as far as how many laps he had run. He had to pit earlier, but it cycled through nicely. He's only 9 laps off of those other guys that he's running around as far as strategy, and he's third, but he's trying to hold off his teammate Jimmy Johnson here.
I don't think he'll probably succeed.
No.
Jimmy Johnson's got a little bit better tires, and a little bit better makes a big difference here.
At Kurt Busch, the 51 car there with him, a lap down. Right now, Kurt's in the 21st position as Jimmy drives to the inside and grabs the spot away from Jeff Gordon.
Just talk about the pace that Hamlin's setting right now. He's about to lap Tony Stewart in the 19th position,
which is incredible.
I mean, like I said earlier, these guys are just putting them down.
Tony Stewart took 4 tires under caution at lap 90. That got him back in traffic, and that really hurt their momentum.
Yeah,
but they had to. I think they weren't very good to begin with.
Yeah, they were far enough off. And
yeah.
And the thing is, what happens is, you know, and we saw when the 24 car, Jeff Gordon took no tires. Within 3 or 4 laps, it seems to equalize itself. And when you take 4 tires and you're hung that far back, like Tony Stewart was, you can't do anything and capitalize on your 4 tires.
And there you see Tony Stewart trying to hang on to the lead lap, Chris.
Yeah, Adam, this goes back to practice on Friday and Saturday. And Steve Addington, crew chief on that car, telling me that they just never got the handling figured out. They never got a good setup underneath Tony. And Tony just saying that the car was feeling numb, feeling like it just wasn't grabbing hold of the racetrack. So he just hasn't been confident about the 14 all weekend long. And that's where they tried that new setup last night, hoping they would work in this race. Obviously, it isn't working. That team's starting to try and make bigger and bigger changes, hoping to try and find something for when we come back here for the chase.
You mentioned Tony Stewart's crew chief, Steve Addington. That's his new crew chief. His old crew chief, Darian Grubb, who's calling the shots for Denny Hamlin, who's dominating so far here today. Only 1 caution right now, clean and green. 171 of 301 complete in New England. Watch the season's final major. Don't miss the 94th PGA Championship beginning Thursday, August 9th, only on TNT. And perhaps the best golfer in NASCAR circles is the man that's getting it done today. Denny Hamlin has now led 99. Next time around, it will be 100 of the 178 laps. Trying to put Jamie McMurray a lap down. He's already put Smoke a lap down.
That fish was jumping. You can see when he went down in that corner. That car of Jamie's is not handling very well. When you watch the rear of the car and it just bounces left to right, Jamie's got his hands full.
And for everybody, and on Twitter I saw it a couple of times where it said, what do you mean by rotating through the center? Watch the 11 car. He can rotate, and the 1 car can't rotate. The 1 car of Jamie McMurray has to stop to get his car to turn, and you see that right there, you see just that little bit of gap right in the middle where the 11 just rotates better and can accelerate up off.
How good is Denny Hamlin? Jamie McMurray, 18th, and he's a lap down. I mean, this is a torrid pace being set by Hamlin out front. Only 1 caution today, which certainly has not helped the cause of those drivers that are fighting ill-handling race cars. McMurray and Stewart among them, and the next guy, Denny Hamlin, the race leader, will see Paul Menard.
And we're back to, you know, the 11 car of Denny, you know, earlier and countdown to green, you know, talking to him, he said when they got here and unloaded that car, it was just good. So all they had to do was fine-tune that car. So they've just made minor adjustments all week. Even though Darian wasn't here, Darian had the car and had the team good enough when they got here to be able to capitalize on that.
And it starts there.
It does start there.
I mean, when you leave the shop, you better be ready. You better have a good car because you're only going to be able to do so much at the racetrack these days.
I'll tell you, a team that was ready when the green flag went in the air today, that Blue Deuce. Brad Keselowski started 22nd. He just went around Dale Earnhardt Jr. for 5th. Man, Brad is strong today. I mean, it is so hard to start deep in the field here anyway. And then you get 4 laps of caution, and here he is in the top 5.
He has been. He's got this far. You know, he came from as you said, deep in the field up to 6th, 7th, or 8th, right along in there. It gets a little bit harder when you get into the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 5th, 4th, and 3rd range.
He's going to earn his money now. Watch the 88 here as they go through the corner.
Yeah, that thing just. It almost looked like it took off on him.
Yeah.
He went to rotate and turn in, and it took off a little bit, and the 2 made it look easy, but the 88 was just a little free right there.
Matt?
And Steve Letarte told Dale Earnhardt Jr. they are good to go on one more stop. Jr. just checked in with the balance of the race car. And he says he absolutely cannot lean on that right rear on entry and especially on exit.
And that's exactly what it looked like Kyle said. You got down in that corner, and you can see right where the car was, right at the center of the turn. It just pitched sideways on him.
Brad Keselowski went around Dale Earnhardt Jr., pulled away, and already on the heels of Jeff Gordon, the 24 car right now in the 4th position.
And it's been documented, and we know Jeff's got 10-lap older tires than everybody else. So as much as the 2 moving forward, the 24 is kind of dropping a little bit. He's about 10 laps again with older tires.
You look at the drivers in the top 10. There are championship implications everywhere. Brad Keselowski, 3 wins, would love to get a 4th for some bonus points, and he's 1 step closer. Around Jeff Gordon, put the 2 car up to 4th. Chris?
Well, that car working really well right now, obviously passing the 24 and the 88. Remember that last pit stop, they reversed the air pressure change they made earlier in the race. So that first run that Brad was making in the 2 car early on when the car was so strong, well, he's got a strong car. That set up once again, and that's what's pushing this car forward.
The good news is, Chris, that he's fast, as you see crew chief Paul Wolfe. The bad news is they're still 8.2 seconds behind the race leader, Denny Hamlin, who continues to get it done here today. The top 5 with 186 laps complete: Hamlin, Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, and Jeff Gordon. We're back in a moment. For the second time today, debris on track here at New Hampshire. Leaders coming down pit road. Denny Hamlin going to lead them. Let's start with Matt Yoakum.
And the first question Denny asked his team, does it look like I'm using too much brake? They said, no, your rotors look fine. He says, good, I'll keep that in mind for the next run. Denny says he needs more help in the grip department. Ralph, possibly 2 tires up and down pit road here. We'll have to see.
Jeff Gordon is in with the 24 car. He says he's losing the front and the middle, and he really needs that left rear to start working. It's not good for about 15 laps, so they're going to put a half pound in the left rear. Away he goes, Chris.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski just taking 2 tires on this stop. He said he really likes the car. A little bit tighter on entry than it was previously, but he's liking that.
Remember our Ram, no guts, no glory. 2 tires are 4. Jeff Gordon took 4, dropped down to 9th. 2 tires for Hamlin and Kane, who hold serve at the front. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing this afternoon in Loudon, New Hampshire. It's the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, 19th race of the year. Greg Miller is the pit crew coach for Clint Boyer. Let's go inside tracks and hear what they had to say.
We're in the 2-can window. Yeah, there's nowhere else you could have gone. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous. That's a great adjustment right there. Having to wait to get there. Yeah, that's all you can do there. That's a good adjustment. Yeah, our first 2 we got run over in the front. I realize that. That's why I said that. Have you seen our first 2? That's where we need to start, right there. That's good.
And we appreciate the entire 15 team for getting mic'd up and letting us play a little inside tracks with them today here at New Hampshire. TNT tonight. There are many ways out, but only one way to win. TNT's competition series, The Great Escape, is all new tonight, 10/9 Central, only on TNT. Let's reset things for you here. Kyle Busch is the race leader. He stayed out under this, the second caution of the day. Denny Hamlin, Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski are the top 5. The free pass under caution would be Paul Menard, and 5 waiver rounds: Quapple, McMurray, Stewart, Ambrose, and Regan Smith. And now we go down to Larry McReynolds at our Torque Car presented by Toyota.
Well, Adam, we've heard a lot of talk about brakes. We heard Kyle Busch talking about brakes, Denny Hamlin asking about his. Look how big the brake package that they run here at Loudon. But one thing that they do have, these cars have 2 separate brake systems. One for the front, one from the rear with separate master cylinders. Now, one adjusting tool that the driver has is a brake adjuster. He can actually take this down. If this car is loose, he can put a little more front brake into it. If it starts to tighten up or won't turn over the course of a run, he can start putting a little rear brake into it. That's just one thing that pretty much the driver can adjust from the cockpit. But Chris, how about Greg Biffle?
Well, Greg Biffle's been talking about his brakes since about lap 90. He was saying that they were getting worse and worse. Right now, they are the worst they've been all day. A very long brake pedal. He gets on that brake pedal and it goes down to the floor in the car, not stopping as well as it would. Kyle, Wally, what's that like on a restart?
Well, I think we mentioned that earlier in the telecast, that Greg looked like he was using the brakes more than anybody else out there, and eventually is going to catch up with you. They normally don't come back.
Yeah.
They'll come back a little bit, but
not like you want them.
Yeah.
He was saving fuel right there as we saw the in-car in.
Kyle Busch, the race leader, chooses the inside lane. He did not pit, and they're scattering everywhere as they cross the start-finish line.
Do you think Kyle Busch staying out, or he's hoping for rain before this thing went crazy?
Yeah, I think he was too. I think they were too. The other thing on that 16 car, we saw him all over the bumper of that 18. And you use a little bit more brake trying to stay off somebody. So he may have punished those things a little bit during that stretch of the race.
Kyle Busch hanging on to that inside lane. Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane right behind the top 2. And Busch can hang on no longer. Denny Hamlin grabs the top spot, side by side for 5th on back.
Ooh, contact there between Boyer and Ryan Newman.
And with Jeff Gordon on the outside, Jeff got bumped just a little bit.
Pretty wide.
That's Keselowski in the middle, Harvick on the inside, Brian Vickers getting aggressive in that top lane. Brad Keselowski been driving to the front, drifting back a bit on the restart. Right behind him, Jeff Gordon in 9th. And remember, he got 4 tires on that pit stop under caution at lap 191.
And here's what happens with 4 tires. Jeff is a good example. You know, here he is hung up in traffic, can't go low, can't go high, just kind of call it here. And by the time he gets free of traffic a little bit and can run his groove, he's already used the good in the four tires that he has.
And the leaders are
gone.
8 seconds, 9 seconds up front.
Keselowski coming back in the outside lane. Boyer right inside of him. And there's Jeff Gordon.
Jeff didn't like that outside lane. He was hung up there, and Boyer got under him and got past him. And then as Boyer got to the 2 car, Jeff was able to make it 3 wide up off 4.
Almost looked like some contact there. Boyer into the backside of Keselowski. Loosened him up a bit. Now he's going to go to the inside of him.
This may be the first time I've seen the 2 car be passed all day.
Been a while.
He's been going the other way.
Right on board with Jeff Gordon, who's 10th, and that's where he restarted on those 4 fresh tires. Have we reached that stage, especially with rain on the way, where it's no more Mr. Nice Guy? You got to move him a little bit if you want to grab a spot as Gordon goes around Keselowski?
I think the weather does have a factor. I think it is. I think these guys obviously have talked a little bit about the weather. They know it's coming, and these guys are trying to get as much as they can on this restart.
So here we are with 100 laps to go. Haven't talked much about Brian Vickers today. 3 starts this year, 2 resulting in top 5 finishes, and right now the 55 car riding in the 6th spot.
Well, looks like his brakes are okay there. He just don't bomb that thing in there pretty hard. The 16 car, Greg Biffle.
When you drive past somebody that fast getting into the corner and you don't have brakes, it's called a wreck.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was either by design or, you know what, I really have a brake problem, you guys.
Yeah, I really have a brake problem, and I'm pumping my brakes as I go by. But that's the slide move. He goes into the inside and is able to get back in line.
See Kyle Busch here trying to hold off Jimmy Johnson for 2nd. Kyle started on the pole, led the first 66 laps of the race, caught speeding on pit road, an issue with the pit stop, dropped back deep in the field, but he's rallied back. Unfortunately, right now under attack by a couple of Hendrick cars.
The tire thing is going to bite him a little bit here. Not taking tires.
The 18 car is doing about like we saw the 24 car do earlier in the race when he stayed out and did the same thing. As these guys got to him, they were able to race with him a little bit, and he was able to hold them off for a little bit, but eventually they worked their way around.
Kyle's last pit stop, lap 157. Everyone else came down under caution at lap 191. Man, they're all lined up there. Johnson, Kane, and now Earnhardt Jr. into the picture.
Yeah, Kyle's definitely holding these guys up right here. But again, it's hard to pass on this racetrack. You only have so much real estate to get it done. I think once these guys get clear of the 18, you'll see them pull away.
And then we'll see what they have for Denny Hamlin at this stage of the race, because the 11 has been incredible. 121 laps led for Hamlin of the 205 we've run here today. We've completed 210 of the 301 laps this afternoon here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It is the Lenox Industrial Tools 301 in Loudon, New Hampshire. Joe Gibbs drivers dominating. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin combining to lead nearly 200 of the 210 laps here this afternoon. The AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, AT&T Rethink Possible. And there he is, the race leader, Denny Hamlin. His advantage right now over second place Kyle Busch, 2.3 seconds. Johnson is 3 seconds back in third. Casey Kane, Dale Earnhardt Jr. complete the top 5. So let's see just how good this Sunday drive is for the race leader, Wally.
Looks good from the outside. You take a look from the inside. It goes down into turn 1. And the whole thing is watching the steering wheel right through the center. The least you have to come back to the right, the better the car is. And just by him holding the steering wheel going through there right now, and 1 and 2, I mean, the car is working very, very well. Just drive down in there, let the car do all the work. And I mean, that's just a sign of a good race car. Like I said, he's putting the wheel in it. He's not really turning to the right very much, which means he's not having to correct it. So the car's working well.
You got to give a nod to his crew chief, Darian Grubb. Didn't get up here till late last night. His wife gave birth to their child this week. But he obviously had the right setup for the team. Denny qualified good in the 3rd position on Friday. Quickened both practice sessions here yesterday. And Grubb got quite a resume when it comes to New Hampshire. Last year on the box for Tony Stewart, who started second, finished second in this race 1 year ago, and came from 20th to get the checkered flag in September, a part of that great run to his 3rd championship. Haven't talked a whole lot about Kevin Harvick today. He's 7th right now, and right behind him his old teammate Clint Boyer. Jeff Gordon is there, and it's Brad Keselowski, the last car inside the top 10. Talked about Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch on a little bit of a different cycle here, Larry.
Yeah, when you look at all of 20 drivers that are on the lead lap right now, with the exception of Kyle Busch, let's talk about the other 19 first. All of them will have to make at least one more pit stop somewhere around lap 250 to 260. Now, we know that Kyle Busch pitted on lap 157. He's probably going to have to make another pit stop here in about 10 to 15 laps. But based on what he ran earlier, which was about 67 or 68 laps, if they can stretch that another 5 to 6 laps in this last run, he too can actually do this race on one stop.
And, you know, I stand to be corrected. I mean, you know, when everything in Jimmy Johnson, all those guys' tires came up, everything evened out, you know, the 18 kind of maintained his pace.
And that's exactly what I was getting ready to say, and that's a good point, because we saw the 24 try this same thing, but he couldn't maintain the pace and dropped. Kyle Busch shows how good his car was when he was up there. Yes, they had a pit mistake. Yes, he had a pit road mistake. But this is a recovery, and if it plays out as Larry said, and he only has to make another stop too, he's in contention right here.
And you put this guy behind the 8 ball, and he thrives on it. Chris, what's the latest?
Well, just trying to add on Larry here, the 18
He is going to try and make it in one more stop. Talking to Dave Rogers, he said conservatively they could do 75 laps on fuel, stretching it possibly 80. So we're looking at this car is most likely coming to pit lane here around lap 226. And the 18, when we went back to green, did fade a little bit there. You have to remember, this car did not come to pit lane, did not change tires. And the problem was Kyle Busch had some pickup on the tires. He had some debris on his tires that he had to get off because those tires were hot compared to everybody else in the field.
Chris, you said it. The 18 going to be coming to pit road soon. We don't want to miss it. We're going to step aside, take a break, and we'll be back to follow the cycle of green flag stops. Denny Hamlin out front at New Hampshire. Yes, it's a broken record.
That's what he needs is another Mountain Dew.
NASCAR on TNT, back in New England. 77 laps to go. Starting to get down to it, and things getting interesting on track. While we were away, how big a deal is this? Wally, Martin Truex Jr. with a moment.
Well, obviously, because you just got finished with that Mountain Dew, and you were all over this during break. You got a little sideways.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Thank
but
you
boy,
very
I
much.
thought you were jumping through the roof.
I didn't know what happened in the booth when he saw that.
Hey, it's good to be excited every once in a while, isn't it? I bet I'm not near as excited as Truex was behind the wheel when he nearly went out and caught the wall. By the way, Martin right now in the 14th position. And got a couple of Roush cars around him. That's Kenseth out in front, and you're riding on board here with Carl Edwards, who's 15th right now. You know, something we've seen today is a lot, to use a phrase that Larry McReynolds has coined, comers and goers. This is one of those tracks that changes throughout the day, and it's so hard to keep your car dialed in for the 300 laps.
Yeah, and it's really hard when you get no cautions to fix this thing. You know what I mean? It's not to keep the car dialed in. These guys really haven't had but a couple of opportunities to get close once they drop the green flag.
And if you're making a green flag pit stop, there's a couple things you can do, but you can do a lot more and make a lot more changes if you do it under caution. So these guys aren't being able to make really the changes that they could make if we had some more cautions.
Truex started in the top 10. He's 14th right now. Brian Vickers, his teammate, is 6th. What an impressive day for the 55 team, Matt.
That 55 team continues to impress 3 different drivers this year, and it seems like every week they are competitive. Brian finished 4th at Sonoma, running 6th at this juncture. The car was a little free earlier, was his biggest complaint. I talked to Rob Kaufman earlier this morning, and he talked about all the different changes they've made over the past year with personnel and moving people around his organization, the co-owner at MWR, and he told me that he's just so impressed with how the entire platform has taken it up another level. And Kyle, you and Wally have both driven for multi-car teams. It's one of the most difficult things in racing to get the entire fleet to perform at the same level week in, week out.
That's the thing that's so impressive with this team right now is, and I think Kyle and I were talking about it during one of the practice shows, that no matter who gets in that car, runs well, you know, whether it's Mark or Vickers or whoever. And that's really a credit to the race team.
Yes,
and,
it
and
is.
how good their race cars are and that they are working together as a team.
It's really hard. And we know this as a driver. If you ever drove a car, you know it's hard to go work with another crew chief and another team if you've never done that. This team is so solid, they can put 2 or 3 drivers in. But I think it speaks to the caliber of drivers that they're putting in, too. When you look at Mark, when you look at Brian, when you look at Michael's driven the thing a couple times, when you look at that, they work really, really good. And here, you know, another guy that stepped into the car that really hadn't run cup races in the last couple of year or so, year and a half, whatever, has having a great nationwide year, but has had to step into this car. Now, he's got to learn these guys. And this is really, for me, the way I look at Sam Hornish in this 22 car, this is his first race. He's just getting into that swing of that.
Yeah, Sam Hornish Jr. in for the suspended A.J. Allmendinger. Not a bad day for the Double Deuce. And here comes Jimmy Johnson. Green flag pit stop, Matt.
And right on schedule, Chad Canals told Jimmy Johnson we should be expecting to pit around lap 235. They hit pit road now, lap 231. Jimmy said the car was a tick free on entry and exit. Chris?
Well, Kyle Busch, this is his final stop. I think we've got about 69 to go. They're going to do, they're making them push the car back. He overshot the pit stop here, so another pit stop problem with the 18. Just going to do right side tires. Other than that, going to try and fill the car up with fuel. And they're telling, didn't leave on dropping the jack, waited for Dave Rogers to make sure it was full, but They did get we're a little slow down here because he overshot that pit box.
Yeah, you can't make those kind of mistakes, not especially this time of the race. This is a hard one to make up. That's the second one today that he's made as a driver. The team made one, but he just slid over the line a little bit. Cost him 4 or 5 seconds. 4 or 5 seconds on the racetrack is a lot.
That's a lot. And I think, you know, he's made up so much ground on the racetrack. He was just trying to get that little bit more right there. And it just results in that little bit of a mistake. And there's a caution.
And we understand David Rudiman putting some fluid down on the track. He has taken it to the garage. Let's send it down to Larry.
Well, I found it interesting, and of course, this is not what they wanted to see, is this caution. Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson in the 48, they had just pitted on lap 191. What they were doing is turning this race into a road course race. They got to their fuel window at lap 231 with roughly 70 to go. He hits pit road. I do think we'll have to double check that he may get the free pass here, though, but that's still not going to help his cause. He did not want to see that caution.
And this caution, the third of the day. We showed you David Rudiman going to the Sprint Cup Series garage, dropping fluid on track. Let's see what we can gather from the replay.
So the 48 gets the lucky dog, but this probably helps the 18 more than anybody, right?
Big picture. Big picture. I think
it
helps the 18.
Yeah, but Kyle Busch, he's the second driver a lap down. So
yes.
I don't think it does a thing for him. It hurts him worse than Johnson.
That's true.
But he can take
he gets the wave
around. Right. And he's already made his pit stop. So we'll see how it all shakes out from a scoring standpoint. But we can confirm Jimmy Johnson, first car 1 lap down, will get the free pass as he had pitted prior to the caution coming out under green and lost a lap. The race leader is Denny Hamlin. Casey Kane, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the top 3. They're making stops. Matt?
And one of the most important members on this team will be Chris Fasulka, the gas man. Now he's going to be shaking his head to Kenny Francis to let him know when the fuel comes back into the can, letting him know that that cell is full, expecting 2 tires mostly up and down pit road. Now the 11. Changes going on the 11. 4 tires. They called an audible. Ralph?
Nick Cap going to work on the gas. They only changed 2 tires. 2 tires on the 15, Chris.
2 car, also 2 tires. Brad Keselowski saying they faded early in that last run just because the car is not good on a short run, but it's great over a long run.
Denny Hamlin going 4 tires, and he lost a ton of position. Kane, the first off pit road. We'll set the running order when we come back to Loudon, New Hampshire. 64 laps remain in Loudon, New Hampshire for the Sprint Cup Series 19th race of 2012. Sprint's fastest stats are brought to you live by the new Sprint Direct Connect, part of the fastest push-to-talk experience. Upgrade to the new Done. Fastest lap time today, Denny Hamlin, just under 30 seconds. You can find out more at sprint.com/speed. Denny Hamlin not only had the fastest lap today, as you see the biggest mover, Brad Keselowski, up 17 positions after starting 22nd. Hamlin, the story of the race right now, leading, dominating, comes down.
I'm struggling with that.
And he takes 4 tires. He's now 13th.
I just don't get it.
The free pass, as Larry pointed out, Jimmy Johnson. He came down, got service, 4 tires, fuel. He will restart 17th. And there will be some drivers that take the wave around. Among them who get on the lead lap, Kyle Busch, who had pitted under green, Sam Hornish Jr., Bobby Labonte, Marcos Ambrose, and the one of Jamie McMurray. And the word we got while we were in break, Denny Hamlin wanted 4 tires. Matt, can you tell us more? Matt?
Now, when Denny Hamlin was coming down pit road, he had a long conversation with Darian Grubb, and Darian asked him, how much grip have you been giving up over this past run? And Darian was told by Denny quite a bit. Darian wanted to go 2 tires. Because of Denny's comments, they made the call to go 4. And then after the stop, Denny was like, what happened there? He goes, that's the difference between 2 versus 4 tires. All that track position.
Keep an eye. Yeah, he's back in the 13th position. And at the restart, Casey Kane, the leader, going to jump in the outside lane. Man, Boyer driving it in nice in front of Junior for second.
Hamlin's going to be on a mission right now.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he'll be after it.
See him down on the bottom over there in 4.
Hamlin, one of those drivers getting out of line, trying to work the inside groove. Clint Boyer hanging right with Casey Kane on the restart. Boyer, a 2-time winner here. In fact, the only repeat winner at New Hampshire in the last 12 races.
And we saw this, you know, as we watch these guys, and we saw this earlier with the 18 when he had trouble and got back in traffic. He struggled. He struggled to come back up through there, no matter how good his car was. And we've seen Denny's car be incredible, but it's always been in clean air.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, the harder you get up to that front, the harder it is for these guys to, to pass. So, I mean, those 4 tires are going to be really, really good for a while, but then things even out.
Ryan Newman started 6th, won this race a year ago. Haven't heard much from him today. He's up in the top 5, and Kevin Harvick, who's just settled about 7th all day long, right behind him. That's 4th and 5th on track. Right behind them, Greg Biffle, another driver that's been a yo-yo, back and forth, inside and outside of the top 10 here this afternoon. And there goes Harvick around Newman. Denny Hamlin working over Matt Kenseth for position. Restarted 13th. Hamlin now picks up the 11th spot. Let's listen back to the conversation on the radio that Denny Hamlin had with his team following that last pit stop.
What happened? That was 4 tires versus 2 there, bud. Oh. Yeah, that's why I was saying I wanted to do 2 there, but your car's way, way faster here, bud, so you're just going to have to go out there and mow your way through it. 4. What made us switch to 4? You said you wanted tires. Oh, God. No, I just said I wanted to just put tires on it. That's why I was asking about the grip there, bud. You said it gave up a lot. You said you needed it, so said you needed all of it. Then I said that, so you... All right. My bad, bud. Go out there and make it up on me.
I think Carrington's taking the bullet there on that one, but that's one you got to be real clear. And, so many things are happening right before a pit stop. The crew chief's talking to the team. They're trying to figure out 2 or 4. You don't have a lot of time to get back to the driver sometimes until it's already too late. But you've got to be real clear on what you want to do in these pit stops, especially this late in the race.
Yeah,
your last pit stop.
Exactly. But I'm telling you, Denny is on a mission. But he said it all when you just heard him let out a sigh. He didn't have to say a single word. It was just that sigh said everything, because I think that's the first time he realized we're in a bad place right here, and we've got to figure this out.
And he knows how hard these races are to win. When you're in position, you got to go get it.
And when you've got a car that's as good as his car is today, out of a 36 race schedule, you're lucky to get that one time, much less 2 or 3 times. You can win races, but you're lucky to get a car like he's got today.
He's led 150 laps, but right now he's in the 9th position. It's Casey Kane who's out front. Wouldn't he like his 2nd win of the year to improve his chase chances? Just under 50 laps remaining in New Hampshire. Casey Kane, the race leader. Clint Boyer is 2nd. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 3rd. Kevin Harvick and Greg Biffle are the top 5. And yes, Denny Hamlin continues to drive through the field since the restart. He's gone from 14th to 6th in the running order. We talk about communication and how key it is. Let's go inside tracks and listen under caution that last time around for the 15 team.
Swifty! Take half out of the right rear, half out of the right rear. Just make sure it's full. You'll be able to get it full. 2, 1. Stop, perfect. Go, 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 hard, 1, 1, 1, 1, hard, 1, 1, 1, 1.
I have no idea what that meant. I don't know if that was go or whoa.
I don't know if it was go or whoa or telling him to stay on the inside and not go too far out or what, but that was a good stop. That was a solid stop that got Boyer up here in the 2nd position.
And Brian Patty and that entire 15 bunch over at Michael Waltrip Racing letting us ride along with them today. We certainly appreciate that for our inside tracks. Ralph, what can you add?
Well, they're very happy with the performance of the 15. They said, go get him if you can. He said, I'm giving it all I got, but I don't want to push too hard because I think I'll use up the tires. They said, okay, save them. Let's go make a run near the end. And that's where the tricky weather call starts to come in. 2 laps ago, they said, you know what? I think we're going to be okay. Looks like the rain might hold off. 2 seconds ago, they just said, rain might be about 4 miles out.
The ever-changing weather, the track, and the man out front. Been Denny Hamlin for a long time. Right now it's Casey Kane, and Boyer trying to hang with him, Larry.
Yeah, I guess it's been the theme since we came on the air around 12 noon with our countdown to green, about 8 races to the chase and the wild card. When I look at our top 2 drivers, think about Casey Kane. He has that 1 win at Charlotte in the Coke 600. And remember, this is his 9th year of being in Sprint Cup. He's only made the chase 2 years. We just feel like that second win would put him in the chase for sure. And then think about Clint Boyer. Comes in here 10th in the points, just inside the top 10, has the win at Sonoma. So really, when you look at our top 2 drivers, it's not a guarantee, but a win here today would make either one of them feel pretty good about being in this chase in 2012.
I'll tell you another driver that would benefit greatly from a win today. Denny Hamlin. He would join Tony Stewart and Brad Keselowski as drivers who have 3 victories in 2012. And I'm telling you, he's going to be a player before it's over with.
Yeah, you get a caution. I mean, it's really going to be a player. But, you know, Denny, obviously there was miscommunication between he and the crew chief. I don't think they really definitively said 2 or 4, and I think Darian just went that way. But if I'm a competitor of Denny Hamlin and I go home and watch this race, I'm going to watch this part of the race because he's putting on a clinic on how to get around this racetrack and how to work traffic right now. I mean, we've talked about how hard it is to pass, but he is making it look incredibly simple, and he's moved into the top 5 here. And we said before, the closer you get to the front, the harder it is, but he still continues to make it look easy.
Hey, Kyle, you were a driver for many years. I was a crew chief. If I called for 2 tires and you as a driver called for 4, and you were put back to 13th, what are you going to make sure you do?
Oh, yeah. Wally and I were laughing about it here. I said, Denny will do everything he can to prove that his decision was right. Look, how many times, Larry, did a driver come in and say, change a spring or say something, and they always told you it was better, whether it showed up slower or not, because the driver is always right. But I'm telling you, the way his car is rolling, the way his car is working right now, this is impressive.
Well, there was always Dale Earnhardt Sr. where I would call for 2 tires, and he'd say, I'm in, I want 4, and I'm not leaving till you give me 4.
And I bet you put 4 on, didn't you, Larry?
Oh, yeah. No, he didn't give me a choice.
41 to go. It's getting good at New Hampshire. Casey Kane, the race leader. Only 36 laps remaining at New Hampshire. Casey Kane with a 2nd lead over Clint Boyer. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 3rd. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are the top 5. It's a battle of National League postseason contenders as the Dodgers travel to Queens to face the Mets. That's next Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern on TBS. With 35 laps to go, Jimmy Johnson trying to make his way back through the field. Remember, he got the free pass under that last caution after he had pitted under green. The 5-time champion back inside the top 10 as he drives around Ryan Newman.
And Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch started back there in 17th or 18th. Kyle has made no progress since they dropped the green flag on this last restart. But the 48 has steadily worked his way, not at the pace that the 11 of Denny Hamlin has, but a car every 10 laps or so.
But because he got the free pass, he got to come in, get service, put on 4 tires, top off with fuel. Perhaps that helped him a little bit.
And that's probably the only 2 guys that really put on 4 tires, I believe. It was the 48.
Yeah, and the 18 did it under green.
Under green, and the caution came right out. They rolled
and then
Hamlin,
the caution, as you pointed out, who made the call under the caution.
Well, we're not real sure about who made the call on the 18 and on the 11, but...
So Kane's leading. How they feeling in his camp right now, Matt?
All quiet on the radio. Casey said absolutely nothing the past 20 or so laps. And when you look at when a driver or a crew chief come to a new team, a lot of times they take away more than what they bring to the organization. But when you talk to the Hendrick folks, they'll tell you that Casey and Kenny Francis brought a lot of new ideas. And you look at the success they're having today. Go back to the spring. 7 straight top 10 finishes. The last 2 weeks he's had top 10s. They're back on a roll. Today could really be a good omen for their fall season if they can score another win. And right now, Mother Nature is maybe 7 to 10 miles away, and the laps are clicking off. Running lap times, KP and Wally, very similar to Denny Hamlin, who was the class of the field earlier.
Well, Matt Casey, one of those drivers, 4 of them outside the top 10 that have a victory. But with his great run here today, he is the wild card leader, jumping in front of Kyle Busch. And certainly if he could get a victory and add a second with only 7 races to go to the chase, that would be huge in regard to the wild card situation. And then there's Denny Hamlin. You look at the last 5 laps, he's gaining ground on Kane.
He is gaining ground. I just don't know if he's got enough laps to do it. But yeah. It just depends on if Casey's car falls off. If Casey can maintain this speed, the longer he can, the harder it's going to be for the 11 to catch him.
I'm going to tell you, though. He's putting on a driving clinic right here as he goes by the 88 car of Dale Jr. This is a day that you would think you would love to be leading at this point, obviously, but and that's pretty obvious. But when you look at it, he has absolutely showed you how to pass inside, outside, and put that car wherever he wants.
Like I said, he's on a mission. I mean, these guys have been so dominant all day long, and then they put themselves in this position. And yeah, you're right. He is pulling out all the stops.
Yeah. And he can, I mean, you know, as he comes up off 2 here, he can see the leader. And that gives you incentive. You know that?
Oh, yeah.
Man, when you can see the leader, it's like, yeah, it's like blood in the water for a driver. And he can see that 15 car. He knows he's got to get past that 15 car of Boyer. I'm not saying he's going to catch that, but this is impressive to watch him come through here.
The first 2/3 of this race, Denny Hamlin ended the drama. He took him behind the woodshed and was beating him down. That 4-tire call on pit road that put him back outside the top 10 has created plenty of drama late in the race. He is putting on a show around the lap machine of Stephen Light. And as Kyle pointed out a moment ago, the next car he will see for position, Clint Boyer, who's the runner-up. Right now, though, it's Casey Kane who can smell the checkered flag at New Hampshire. He's on point with 27 laps remaining. Laps remaining. It's all that's between Casey Kane and his second win in 2012. And the man chasing him now is Denny Hamlin. While we were away, the 11 car got by Clint Boyer for the runner-up position. And last time around, he was 3 seconds behind Kane for the top spot.
Yeah, and like I said, you could see him, Kyle said, you can see him. That always helps, but you know, 1/10 of a second a lap isn't enough. And that's all Denny has been really gaining on the 5 car. And again, the 5 car's in clean air. It's running good. He's maintaining his, he's not falling off. So Denny's not being able to make that big gap on him.
No, and the 5 car, it's going to come down to something like happened yesterday in the nationwide race, where somebody messes up the leader and the second place car has so much momentum he comes in on it. Or this car is going to absolutely have to stop and start giving up 3 or 4 tenths a lap. And I've not seen this car do it all day long because Casey has been really good since the start of the race.
Tony Stewart won this race in the fall. He's up to 12th after taking the wave around on that last caution. What do you say about the race leader, Larry?
Well, I think we've already talked about what a win would mean to Casey Kane. Get his second win for Hendrick Motorsports. Probably put him in pretty good shape for the wild card in the chase. But he's had a pretty good week because last Sunday he went over to Charleston, South Carolina with Jimmy Johnson and some of his friends. And he competed in a triathlon, a 600-yard swim, 12 miles on a bike, and a 5K run. Oh, by the way, he beat his teammate Jimmy Johnson by 27 seconds.
That was pretty decent.
That's pretty good.
Now, one thing he is in, he's going to be catching a lot of traffic here in the next 3 or 4 laps.
So Casey Kane out front right now, and the pole sitter dominated the early portion of this race. Talking about Kyle Busch, but right now he's 16th, Chris.
Yeah, we've seen the 48 car work its way into the top 10. Like the 48 car, the 18 came in before that last caution, lost a ton of track position. And we've been talking about Kyle Busch being much more mature this year, not getting mad at the race. Well, it's been such an up and down day that there's definitely a level of frustration that has set in with the 18 car. He's been on the radio lately. He's been pretty mad, and he's saying that car's not just loose, it's wrecking loose.
And, you know, we kind of saw that the stop before this with the 2 car of Brad Kay. You know, we saw he was up there about 4th or 5th right along there, had that pit stop, and then dropped a little bit. This time he's been able to maintain 5th or 6th right along in there. But the run before this, I don't know if he just couldn't get hooked up to the racetrack, if they made an adjustment the wrong way, but it almost seems like that's what's happened to the 18. Whatever adjustment they made or whatever the change was, it's not matching the racetrack at this time.
And I know we had an argument a couple of weeks ago, the three of us, about who was the biggest mover in the race. I think it's safe to say today nobody has passed more cars than Brad Keselowski. Started 22nd, right now running 5th. That's a net gain of 17, but the bottom line is he's been a yo-yo getting around these
I may
guys.
argue with you. The 11 cars passed more cars. He lapped half the field, and now he's had to come back through there. So I'm going to go with the 11 car.
I knew I could bring it out of you.
Yes.
I knew it. Chris, what are they saying in the 2 camp?
Well, they haven't made a lot of adjustments in the last 100 laps because they finally got the car where they liked it. But the philosophy all day has been not to have a great car early on because they thought they were going to be doing lots of green flag runs. And that's where they lost that track position in that shorter green segment we had prior to the last caution. Now that we've been running for a while, I think we've been running a good 30, 40 laps here. That car once again coming alive, and he's moving forward.
He was second here last fall, Chris, and you continue to be more and more impressed with his driver-crew chief combination. Brad Keselowski and Paul Wolfe. 3 wins for BK this season, 3 for Tony Stewart, and he's got a little company in the form of the championship leader. That's Matt Kenseth, who's closing in behind him. Another driver who's passed a lot of cars today. Kenseth started 27th this afternoon. Down to 13 laps remaining at New Hampshire.
You know, Kenseth's here as your points leader, and we see where he's at. Junior's had a solid run, so this point deal maybe shuck up again today.
Yeah, Dale Jr. haven't talked about him a lot, but he's been in the top 10 all day long. In fact, spent the last half of the race inside the top 5. Right now, NASCAR's most popular driver, 4th in the running order. Rick Hendrick has 4 wins here today. One of them given to him by Dale Jr., another one by this guy, Casey Kane, and now he's got to manage lap traffic. It was the difference yesterday in nationwide competition when Brad Keselowski was able to get away with a pass around Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, just one wrong move or one little mistake, and Hamlin is going to be right there. I guarantee you the spotters are doing their jobs right now.
Yeah.
They're up on top trying to get these guys out of the way for Casey.
Matt?
Lap traffic helped out Denny Hamlin that last lap. He picked up almost 3/10 of a second. Kenny Francis calling out lap times. The difference between the 5 and the 11 of Kane and Hamlin. Right now it's down to 2.2. They told Casey, just run your line. Do not overdrive the corner. You should have enough time.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Matt. The 11's going to catch him right now because the 5's in traffic and the 11 isn't.
Is not in traffic.
Denny Hamlin isn't in traffic. He's going to have to deal with all these guys once he gets to him as well.
Jimmy Johnson, the free pass on that last caution. He's done a nice job getting back through the field. This team's done a lot of this lately. The 48 rallying from some sort of an issue. When he got by Harvick, that was to put him 7th on the scoreboard. 10 laps remaining. And Casey Kane continues to show the way, coming up on the lap machine here of David Gilliland.
That's a lot closer there. See when he comes across. It's about 1.5 seconds difference right now. And one thing I might point out, maybe easier for Denny to get through traffic than it is Casey, because he's got better tires on.
Yeah, and it all depends on where you catch that traffic and whether that guy gives you a break or not. And we talk about this all the time. You know, you give these guys a break, they give you a break. Sometimes this is payback time. If they don't want to let you around, then they're not going to let you around.
8 laps to go. 2 lap cars between the race leader, Kasey Kahne, and second place, Denny Hamlin. And if you're just joining us, Denny Hamlin dominated this race, leading 150 laps. But when he came down pit road to make a stop under caution at lap 235, there was some miscommunication between he and crew chief Darian Grubb. Grubb wanted to go with 2 tires. He thought Hamlin wanted 4. That 4-tire stop took Hamlin from the race lead back to 14th, and he has put on a show late in this race trying to get back to the front.
I mean, he has driven this thing from 12th, 13th, 14th back there to be in the same picture frame, which is impressive in itself.
Look at our closing the gap, still a couple of 100 feet behind. Perhaps the bigger part of that equation, 2 lap machines in between McMurray and Gilliland.
He gained 80 feet from the backstretch to the middle of 3 and 4. If he keeps doing that, they're going to be right next to each other on the last lap.
6 laps to go. Here's Hamlin inside of David Gilliland. No problems for the 11. And now once again only 1 car separates him from the race leader Kasey Kahne. That's Jamie McMurray. But this time around, 5 laps remaining.
McMurray laid down. So now there's nobody in between.
Clean sailing for Denny Hamlin, and some lap cars stacking up in front of the race leader Kasey Kahne.
Let's see if he does the same thing here. About 225. I see now Kasey had to. Oh wow, Denny drove it in really hard that time. He slid it. That's another thing you got to be careful doing is overdriving the car at this point.
Yeah, he saw that opening and was going to make a lot of it up right there. It's just tough. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Catching and passing are 2 totally different things at this point in time. But he has put in a valiant effort right here.
A little cushion once again for Kahne, who got around the lap machine of Landon Castle. See if Hamlin can get around him here as Kahne closes on Regan Smith. And when they come off of turn 4 here, it'll be 3 laps remaining for Kahne.
Denny's not worried about it rolling through the center of the corner right now. He's making it all up, getting in, and stabbing and steering.
Look at how hard he is on the brakes right there. I mean, when you see the car just slam the racetrack, he's driving it in deep, and he's getting a lot of brake out of it.
But he's running out of time. 2.5 laps remaining. Think back to the start of this season, all the anticipation for Kasey Kahne coming over to drive this 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports. Everyone believed they would have what it took to win a championship. Slow start, bad luck, you name it, it went wrong. They got on track. A number of top 10s in succession. Won that race in the Coke 600 Memorial Day weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And a victory here today would more than likely put him in the chase, but a lap and a half remaining, and Denny Hamlin continues to close.
He seemed way.
Yeah, he just
there it goes right
That's
there.
it.
There it goes.
White flag out, and Kasey Kahne can breathe easy at New Hampshire.
That's all he had.
That's all he had, man.
Yep.
He gave that thing everything he had every lap.
Denny Hamlin dominated this race.
No pressure. Just
Made a great rally late, but it's going to come up short. Kasey Kahne down the back straightaway for the final time. When we come back to New Hampshire in September, we'll be in the chase, and more than likely Kasey Kahne will be running for a championship, but he's going to get his 2nd win here today, and it's going to be his 1st ever at New Hampshire.
Way to go. Great strategy, Kenny. Way to get us that track position. We had to have it. Thanks everybody. Good job, Kevin. 10-4. Great job, guys, man. Great job. That was awesome. Take a long burn out. It's my first win, so I need to be there for the picture.
6 races of racing on TNT complete. 6 different winners. Kasey Kahne puts the icing on the cake here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
It was all about track position. You heard him say, thanks for getting me that track position.
Can't say enough about the way this team has fought through hard times. And a huge victory today, helping their championship position. Casey Kane gets it done at New Hampshire. It's all done in Loudon, New Hampshire. Sprint Cup Series racing for the 19th time this season. And for the second time, it's Casey Kane that's going to victory lane in 2012. His 14th career win coming this afternoon on the Magic Mile. And that's always a magical moment when you get the checkered flag. Casey started up front on the front row, battled his car throughout the day. Good strategy late in the race, and once he got the lead, nobody could go take it away from him. And now, not only does he have the checkered flag, he's going to get the trophy as well. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, he had to finish the phone call up with Mr. Hendrick. Casey, come on out of there. And here he comes. He's looking for a hat, something cool to drink. Been a hot day here in New Hampshire. Here he comes out of the car. There he is, the winner here today. First career win here at New Hampshire. High fives with all the guys on the crew. All right, gotta get the glasses. Get everything ready to go. All right, here we go. Track position was such a key here today. How did you go about getting it?
Kenny Francis, Keith Rodden, the guys did a great job. We ran the top 5 the whole race, but Denny was obviously the best car. We just we had a great Farmers Insurance Chevrolet, and we just had to battle hard throughout the whole race, and we did it. We had good pit strategy, got the track position, and we're able to lead those final laps there.
You knew he was coming near the end, Denny Hamlin. Were you worried about it? Were you looking in the mirror, or were you just focused up front?
No, I mean, I was definitely focused on the lap cars I was going by and how I could clear them quick, but I lost a ton of forward drive. I was getting pretty loose, and Denny was coming on 4, so I was paying attention to where he was, but I felt pretty good about the lead we had. And man, it's been a great relationship with Farmers Insurance to get a win with them. This is the first one. Quaker State was on our last win, and HendrickCars.com, Rockwell Tools, everybody that's been part of this fast Chevrolet this year, I really appreciate it. We thank them.
Casey, this is a team everybody expected a lot out of. Now you have 2 wins. You're looking solid for in the chase. How tough is this team going to be now as you get ready to get into that chase?
Well, I feel like we've been pretty tough all year. We just haven't finished them off a lot of the times, but we've been there all year long, and hopefully from here out, as there, some more top 10s, top 5s in a row, and from here out we need to stay after it. And it doesn't get us in the chase yet, but it definitely helps with a win today and the win in Charlotte. Can't wait for some of these other tracks coming up.
He's vibrating. He's ready to go. He wants in that chase, Matt.
And Denny Hamlin put on a clinic there near the end, passing so many cars from 13th up to 2nd. But Denny, how do you digest the confusion over the call on pit road that puts you that deep in the field?
Yeah, it was just a miscommunication. I told Darian all I needed was tires, and that was it. And he took it that I needed 4 tires, and so just a miscommunication. But we still had a shot at a win. We just didn't get past all the cars quick enough, and he didn't have quite enough there at the end. But still proud of our FedEx Freight team. This is the best car I've had here, and we're going to win the one that counts, and that's in September.
And you have to be, though, impressed with the flat track program, not only here in September, but also you've got Phoenix. Your program really seems like it's taken up a notch. Yeah, I mean, it seems like, if we're not wrecking, we're in contention to win every single week. So that's all I can ask for with our team. And, I feel like this year setting up good for us. We got some good stuff coming. Our race cars are getting better and better, and I'm very, very pleased with where we're at right now. All right, thank you, Denny.
Thank you.
Chris?
Well, Jimmy Johnson coming home 7th today. Jimmy, that last caution caught you guys out. You lost a lot of track position, but you charged hard late.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that caution. Anyway, we had a great race car. Very proud of this Lowe's Hendrick Motorsports Impala. A lot of speed in the car. It was like it was the Gibbs cars and the Hendrick cars. And at times I was the best Hendrick car running top 2, top 3. But then that caution, in my respect in traffic, we still got through there, decent, but just glad. Just going to be quiet.
Other than the plate races, you've got to be proud of this team. You guys have just had a great year.
Yes, very, very strong race team. And, there is one plate race left, and it's in the chase when it counts. So hopefully we have all of our bad luck out of the way. plate-wise, and I think we have enough speed and speed on the racetrack and on pit road to get it done in the chase. So I'm real happy where we are.
Yeah, that DNF a week ago for Jimmy Johnson bounces back with a solid top 10 finish. His teammate Casey Kane gets Mr. Hendrick his 5th win of the year. Clint Boyer 3rd today, Matt.
Solid day for the entire MWR team. And Clint, when you look back to this day, what stood out to you that really hindered your chance of scoring another win?
Well, just off a little bit. Our total package, we got to work a little bit. This is a good track for us. We was able to get back. It felt good to struggle as bad as we did, make some good decisions there on pit road, and get ourselves back in a game, get a podium finish for our 5-hour Energy Toyota. All in all, it was a good weekend. Solid weekend. It's what we needed after the last 2 weeks, getting beat around and knocked out of the race. It felt good to get a solid finish going in on an off weekend.
Looking at coming back here in the fall, what stands out as a positive that you guys feel like you can go in a direction with your package?
Well, just, I learned some things. This tire doesn't have near as much stagger as the other tire that we had. It took a different line, and it took 3/4 of the race, actually, till I was second there behind Casey to figure out that, I needed to move my line a little bit. Just, I think it was due to the tires. So need to practice in that line and make the best of it, and maybe we'll have something for him next time.
All right, Clint Boyer comes home 3rd here at the Magic Mile. Ralph?
Well, Matt, Dale Earnhardt Jr. got his number 88 National Guard car in the top 5 today, a 4th place finish, another one for the Hendrick team in that top 5. But you told me it was a lot of work today. How come?
Just, we were about a 10th off all weekend. And I was kind of surprised, too, because we tire tested here and we're super quick and real happy with the car. And we just didn't have enough, all weekend. We worked on the car real hard, worked on it during the race really hard, and just couldn't run any better. And we were running. Track position was real important to us. I don't know if we had enough race car to get back there and race anybody. So we're just happy to run in the top 5. And, we're strong. We just got to, get another notch, start winning some more races.
Well, now, as you look towards the chase, and you're going to look like you have a pretty good shot when you get in there, this track is going to be back on that schedule. What did you learn today that you can incorporate maybe then?
Well, we feel like we run better at this track for whatever reason. The second time in the season, maybe it's something with the weather or something that I like, a combination of the weather and all, but I don't know. But I like coming here. I love running here, and the tires are a little slick. But, we'll see how it goes. I don't know, man. We're pretty excited about our chances when we get to the chase, but we still got some things to learn and accomplish before we get there, and not looking too far ahead, trying to really work on one race at a time.
Okay, so what are you working on? And you said you're trying to pick this thing off and set yourself up, and that's what you guys have done all year, and it worked at Michigan. You got that win that you needed. Now you got to get that championship. So what do we have to do?
Well, we got to run like this, when the cars are 10th off and we got about a 10th place car, we got to use good strategy and be smart on the racetrack and finish, in the top 5 with it. And run in the top 5 every week. You got to win some races too, I think, to win a championship. Just depends, But we're running strong. We're happy with how many points we're gaining every week and what we're doing consistently. But, I know National Guard and Mountain Dew like to be in Victory Lane. That's where I want to be too. So we just need to take more speed. We've gotten faster and we found speed and improved, and you just need a little bit more to really be one of those dominant cars every week.
Adam?
Ralph, good stuff with Dale Earnhardt Jr., who finishes 4th here this afternoon. It's his teammate who's getting showered in Victory Lane. Casey Kane gets the trophy here in Loudon, New Hampshire. Good to have you with us on the NASCAR on TNT post-race show. And we say thanks for all the effort for Chris Neville, Ralph Shaheen, and Matt Yoakum on pit road today. We were one man down. Marty Snyder, under the weather, didn't make the trip to New Hampshire. Marty, hope you're doing well, and hope to see you back at the racetrack very soon. And we also send well wishes to Michael Drano, one of the great camera guys in the business. We've been missing him for the last few weeks. And Jason Pace, one of our pit spotters, not with us today. Great work all season long. We've missed you this weekend, fellas. Casey Kane in Victory Lane here today, Loudon, New Hampshire, 2nd win of the season. And when you win for Rick Hendrick, it's all about the team. Jimmy Johnson stopping by after a top 10 finish to pass along his congratulations to the entire 5 bunch. Results from today: Kane at the top, Denny Hamlin led 150 laps, finished 2nd. Clint Boyer, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Brad Keselowski, the top 5.
That's amazing. In the top 12, nobody that started outside the top 12 except for Brad. Everybody, if you start up front, you finish up front.
All 4 Hendrick cars in the top 7, including Jeff Gordon, who was 6th today. Tony Stewart got back to 12th after having to take the wave around on a late caution. Brian Vickers ends up 15th.
Kyle Busch had a good car. Not a very good result for the way those guys ran most of the race.
Kyle led 72 laps, and Carl Edwards 18th. They really never found the handle this weekend. Kurt Busch, 3-time winner here, 24th this afternoon in the 51 car. Talk about guys fighting the race car. Montoya, 1 top 10 finish in the last 15 races. 25th today. BK Racing cars started 29th and 30th, and that's where they finished. Castle and Quapple. Told you Jeff Gordon finished 6th this afternoon. Let's hear from him. Down to Chris Neville.
Well, after a wreck at Daytona, Jeff Gordon bouncing back, getting a top 10, 6th place here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, you know, it's not a bad, I mean, great effort by the team, but it's definitely not what we were hoping for. This is a track that I feel like we can win at. And, you know, we just missed it. You know, we just weren't there. I mean, that first run, I thought, wow, we really got something for them, but so hard to pass. And, you know, we just kind of lost the handling on it with our DuPont Chevrolet. So, yeah, it's a 6, which when you look at the rest of our season, that's pretty good. But when you look at what we have to do, you know, over the next 7 races, it's definitely not something that we're content with.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon still looking for a win, trying to get that wild card.
Chris, they've been so close so many times to getting a victory. It hasn't happened, and as Jeff pointed out, that makes solid top 10s like today a moot point. They need to get to victory lane. Championship standings with 7 races to go to the chase. Kenseth continues to lead. Dale Jr., Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin in the top 5. Stewart and Keselowski still the only drivers with 3 wins this season. And the advantage for Keselowski over 11th place Carl Edwards, 46 points, nearly a full race. 48 points, the maximum you can gain in one event, and that's pretty solid with 7 races remaining. Wild card positions right now. Casey Kane with his victory today up to 12th in the standings. He's got wild card spot number 1. Kyle Busch has wild card position number 2, and Newman with a victory only 9 points behind him.
Yeah, that's big. That second win for Casey Kane is big. And when you put a 2 right there beside Casey Kane, that makes that 0 beside Carl Edwards look huge. Those guys, we talk about him, and I know that the 29 car of Kevin Harvick's up in there, but they need a W in their column.
Great day for Brad Keselowski. Started 22nd, finished 5th. To Chris Neville.
Well, Brad Keselowski finishes 5th today. Brad, the car seemed really strong on long runs, but it was that short run that hurt you at the end.
Sure, yeah, you know, we passed a lot of cars today, starting 22nd, driving up, we get in the top 5. I feel like if we'd have had just a little bit more track position at the end, that we were probably a 2nd or 3rd place car. It looked like Denny was really strong, and certainly Casey was as well. But good weekend for us, and we just need a little bit short run speed and qualifying a little bit better, and I think we could win today, but good effort.
And they've been having a lot of those lately. Battled to a top 10 last week at Daytona did Brad Keselowski and that 2 team after being involved in multiple accidents. Remember when everyone said, is Rick Hendrick ever going to get his 200th victory? I think we've answered that question. They've been on a roll the last couple of months. Casey Kane, a winner at New Hampshire, as our post-race coverage continues here on TNT. And one of the great features of NASCAR on TNT is our inside tracks, where we ride along with a team throughout their race day, kind of take you behind the scenes of what it's like with some of the crew members. Some great sights, some great sounds. Here's a look and listen back to what we've seen over the last 6 weeks.
Come out here, do your job. Come out here, do it well.
Planets are aligned. Just tell him if he's better, just to reassure him.
Right side good, right side good.
We're already in a big enough hole here. We don't need to self-inflict any more wounds.
I hadn't stopped sweating yet.
Hazards of the job, but we did good.
What happened in 1999? Followed each other around the whole race.
Let's go, come on, let's go.
Well, that's just giving them room to blow right by you.
Just can't go too low on the last, make it chatter worse. That's a great adjustment right there. Having to wait to get there.
Do not speed. Remember that last segment. They got the 48 twice.
He pulled his hand out, it hit my arm. Yeah.
Easy. Come on down. You all right, Trev? You all right, buddy?
I'm all right, man. That was a hard one. I had nowhere to go.
The sounds of race day. We bring it to you every week. The summer series on TNT, and we call it Inside Tracks. Joey Logano, 14th today. Chris Neville caught up with him a moment ago.
Well, Joey Logano won here back in 2009. And Joey, I was listening to you all day, and it sounds like you were making big adjustments all day. You finally adjusted your way into a top 15.
Yeah, we were getting closer. About halfway through the race, we were about maybe 3/4 of the way of having the cars because we were going to get it. We just had to, I think we've done a lot more different things in practice to get our Home Depot car a little bit better. So we got some things to work on for next time, and we know that. And felt like we're getting better, and then we put the last set of tires on, and car really went to crap there. So I'm not really sure why or what happened there, but, 14th isn't the end of the world. We can salvage and stay and go on to Indy and try to make it happen there. So thank Home Depot, all the guys for working on our cars, all the guys back at the shop. We're hanging in there. We're going to get another one here shortly.
And they need a win now because Casey Kane has 2. He leads the wild card standings. And if you're a Joey Logano fan, he's 12 points behind Kyle Busch for that second wild card spot. The fun continuing in Victory Lane in Loudoun, New Hampshire. Big smile on the face of Casey Kane. TNT tonight, the end is just the beginning. From executive producer Steven Spielberg and DreamWorks Television, Falling Skies. Don't miss it. All new Falling Skies tonight, 9/8 Central, only on TNT. For the latest, like us on Facebook. So the TNT Summer Series is all done. With Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach, I'm Adam Alexander. Interesting race today. Denny Hamlin goes out, dominates, but it's Casey Kane who gets the victory, and that will be huge when you start talking about the chase.
It is huge. From the wild card's perspective, it is huge. That totally changes. We just saw Joey Logano, his interview. I think he's a little bit shakier now, saying we got to go get another one, and I think everybody's that way. And like I said, with Carl with that big O beside his name in 11th, he's got to do something, or these guys are out of the chase.
Do we know who the favorite is when you talk about the title at this stage, Wally?
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. That's exactly right.
And by the way, 6 races, 6 different winners in our TNT Summer Series. Best tie right there.
What's wrong with my tie?
Nothing. It's great. You're all class all the time.
That was incredible, Wally.
I can't believe he is making any comments about anyone else's tie on the air.
Hey, it's been fun.
Yes.
And thanks for playing
Thank
along.
all you guys for watching.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
We certainly appreciate it. It's been a fun summer series, no doubt about it. So many people to thank. First, we remind you, next, it's Leverage. Head over to NASCAR.com for the NASCAR on TNT post-race show, interviews, analysis, and more live now on NASCAR.com. You never know where to start because there are so many great people that go into making NASCAR on TNT happen. Our producer, Jeff Sponge Randolph. Director is Mike Wells. Coordinating producer, Barry Landis. Our executive producers, Tim Kiley and Albert Scooter Vertino. Senior Vice President and Executive Creative Director is Craig Berry. Our Chief Operating Officer is Lenny Daniels. And the President of Turner Sports is David Levy. If you come to the track on a race weekend and you look at all the folks in that TV compound that work so hard to make it happen, you realize what an effort it is to travel all across the country, week in and week out, from Sonoma to the heat in Kentucky and down in Daytona, where it was a humid, hot night last weekend on the 4th of July weekend. It helps you understand just how many people go into putting this project together. We thank each one of you for your hard work and leadership. For Larry McReynolds, Kyle Petty, and Wally Dallenbach, I'm Adam Alexander. Thank you for being with us for NASCAR on TNT. And once again, congratulations to Casey Kane. He's a winner this afternoon at New Hampshire.